Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Iron Age Nights number 2. How is everybody doing?
Awesome.
Sweet.
Good evening.
Doing great.
I need to get my own Gary button. I need to have an applause button for when I do that.
We'll figure that out. That'll be the highlight of number 3 episode.
Yeah, I actually know how to do it. I just the time is never fleeting thing. Well, gentlemen, in the customary way that we have to do things, we've got to say hi to chat before anything. We've got to say hi to chat, and people are already coming to with super chats. So I might have to read some of those. So, we'll say hi to chat, and then we'll introduce everybody, and then we'll start rolling with the conversation. What do you guys think? Is that a good method, or do I suck at this?
Good. It's quite the chat already. I'm impressed.
Yeah.
This is it's growing and growing every week. Snuffy357 is down there. Welcome to the #1 Iron Age YouTube channel. I can't get away from that. Raven Gad Gaming is down there. He's been looking forward to this. Diogenes of Sinope is also down there. He says Iron Age. He says #1 Iron Age senpai. God, I have hopefully I can make some of this stream got practice with my band tonight. So I shall be late and gay. Sir, you are in a band. You were already gay. Betty Adams over analysis for $10. Let's pull that one up on stream here. This was the first super chat of the night. My humble contribution to the Iron Age. Humans are weird. I have the data. Humans are weird. We took a vote. Humans are weird. Let's work it out. Wholesome, absurd, short sci-fi stories, family friendly. Okay, I definitely need that.
Absolutely.
To be sent to me. Raven Nevermore, all hail the fellowship. Oh, wow, we've got some F&T people from here. Raven Nevermore, thank you so much. Trippy Soul is down there. Thank you so much. We got Billy Bob Sack. He's watching on TV. He's not going to be in chat because he wants to shun us. That's fine. Samwise, how are you doing? Wrangler, good evening. Raul Neonzi is down there as well. We've got that's an inspiring author as well.
Mm-hmm.
We also have to get, holy crap. Okay, well, I just got down to that chat there. Frequency Studios for $54.20.
My goodness.
Iron Age, let's get the party started. Oh, who was the character in the Goofy movie when Max went to college? His friend? What the hell was that character's name? He was he was the stoner kid. And I can't remember what the hell his name was. He's like, let's get it started. You guys remember who I'm talking about?
I'm trying to figure out if you're using this reference because you're a dad or because you're younger than me.
Yes. Yes.
The answer is yes.
Yeah. Asher Burnett's down there as well. Frequency Studio again with 420. And for good measure. Yeah, that's something Mike S. Miller started on my channel. I love having him on. He does amazing things to my chat. Oh no, it jumped again. Why are you guys making it jump? Oh man. I'm gonna have to rapid fire some of these. Asher Burnett, Urban 692. Hello. James Craig is down there. Craig the bad guy. What's going on? Monty Herm, Haji Chen, Toxic Crusader with a $5 super chat. And guys, so we're going to stop right there for the chat for now. All hail the #1 Iron Age creator for $5. Thank you so much, Toxic Crusader. We have to get into the show. So I will remember that the first Toxic Crusader $5 super chat is where I need to pick up. But thank you guys all so much for being here. Iron Age Media, also known as Richard. How have you been this week, good sir?
I was a little bit sick at the beginning of this week, and man, it really it knocked me out. Not too bad, but I was behind the curve. I was like, man, I'm going to get all these things done, and And
Did you get any of them done?
I kept my head
Always
above
happens.
water, and that's about as good as it got for me. So
It's
I'm
not
happy
an
with that.
unspecified virus of unknown origin, is it?
No, it was just my two beautiful children brought home something and then probably sneezed into my food and
Yeah,
that kind of thing.
I love
All they
that.
got to do is
So-
breathe on you, and you're done.
Yeah, a little 24-hour blessing.
Oh, it's amazing. It's amazing. I love that stuff. Was it one of those ones where you could do all the normal stuff you normally do, but you just felt like trash?
No, it was
Oh.
not. Usually I'm like that, but man, we also had like a pressure front come in and everything else, and I always have allergies anyway. So I usually can't nap during the day at all, and I slept for like 6 hours during the day on Monday, which was unheard of.
Yeah.
And then I woke up and I had my call with you guys, and I think I was still mostly asleep anyway. Because immediately after that, I went back to sleep.
There you
So,
go, man.
Yeah.
All right. Mr. Daniel P. Riley, how are you doing tonight, good sir?
Doing very well. Been a standard week for me, writing articles, working on more novel stuff. I am doing a reforge of my fantasy trilogy, Tales of Halcyon, talking to some artists for illustrations for the whole set.
That's
Looking pretty awesome.
That's cool.
Will they be released, re-released individually, or as as kind of like a trilogy set?
It's going to be a trilogy set.
Oh, very cool.
Full of
Very cool.
illustrations, and I'm putting the original covers and some early artwork my daughter did of the characters in the back as sort of a gallery with other things that creators have submitted.
That's
Very
great.
neat.
It's always
That's
nice when you can do stuff with your kids. That's
Yeah.
always
Yeah.
a good feeling.
She did the covers for all three of the books originally when I first started publishing.
Oh wow, that's
Yeah.
really cool.
Mm.
I got to say I admire authors because I've done a lot of screenwriting. I've done comic book script writing. I have tried to sit down and write even short stories. It is not as easy as anybody would think.
Mm-mm. No, it
Takes
is
a
not.
lot of work.
Yeah. So, all right. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, our special guest this evening is, can I say your real name or your full name or just your screen name?
You can say anything you want. I stream
Well,
on Pop Culture and
unscripted.
Minefield where I get
all
called a
right,
lot of
sweetheart, if that's where we're going. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, we have Christopher
Don't call
Cooksey.
me Susan.
Don't call me Susan. We have Christopher Cooksey here from Christopher Moonlight Productions. Sir, how has your week been? And give us some background on yourself too, so that way everybody in the chat knows the awesome talent that we have on the channel.
Well, my week is a forge of iron.
Yeah.
That I walk through and get hammered. Not this kind of hammered.
No, we'll get there tonight.
Hammered into a strong, sharp form that I was going to try and pull a Ray Bradbury quote, but I completely lost it. I blew it. This is really great, though. I am thrilled to be here. So, yeah, I sometimes go by Christopher Moonlight. Usually, Christopher Moonlight is if I'm doing streams or doing things that are a little more quirky and ridiculous. And then when I'm in serious mode, when I am a director, then I'm Christopher Cooksey, which is my real name. I came originally from England as a wee lad, had a little British accent. Wish I kept it because girls loved it, but I didn't figure that out until I lost it. My father was actually a rock band manager. He managed the band Deep Purple. And
no shit.
Yeah, that's
Yep.
awesome.
That is. Yep.
You got Royce's attention.
Everybody's first song they learn on the guitar. Everybody's first song they learn on the guitar.
I know, right? Smoke on the Water, of course.
Mhm.
But it's funny because growing up with those people around, I didn't know they were famous. And I, like most kids, if it's something your dad does, it's not cool and you don't want anything to do with it. So, I grew up loving like punk music, bands
Yep.
like The Cure. I did like metal like in junior high.
Right.
But and I went to a lot of concerts. I mean, I went to Deep Purple concerts. Funny story, before we get into what I actually do. Ronnie James Dio is a friend of the family, and he loved comic books. So I thought he was awesome.
Dio is a comic guy?
He was a comic book guy.
Yeah.
And I thought he was cool, not because he was famous, because I, just being a little, dork kid, didn't know that Ronnie was famous. I just thought he was one of the friends of the family that always talked to me at barbecues, would play pool with me, and loved talking about Spawn and Death of Superman and stuff like that. And so I thought he was really cool. And then one day I'm watching MTV, and the video for Rainbow in the Dark comes on. And I'm looking, and I turn her. I mean, I knew my dad, worked for rock bands and that sort of thing, but I turned around to my mom. I was like, "Is that Ronnie?" She's like, "Yeah." I have a history, just plethora of stories of not knowing that people are famous.
That's incredible.
And then later on, just being like told, "Idiot, that was so and so." Oh, it was? Oh, okay.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you think he was great. He was just my dad's drinking buddy.
That's brilliant.
That's
Ronnie
awesome.
was wonderful, by the way. Ronnie was I will say this about him: you will never meet a sweeter guy. Not jaded at all. I think he figured out that I had no idea he was famous, and it never bothered him one bit.
Probably
it was just
That's awesome.
But anyway, so yeah, so I grew up in California. I had fantasies very early on about wanting to be a special effects artist. Of course, loved all the things we love. The original Star Wars trilogy, Terminator, was a fanatic about Aliens and Predator, and really got into a lot of behind the scenes stuff. Anytime, and showing how old I am, anytime some special would come on the TV about the making of something, I'd pop in a tape in the VCR and record it and just watch it over and over again. Before I knew fan films were a thing, I wanted to make an Aliens fan film as a teenager.
Good choice.
And I lived about 40 minutes outside of Hollywood, so there were a lot of celebrities that lived in my town. Thousand Oaks, which is kind of a place celebrities go to live because they don't want to live in Los Angeles. That's where they work. Yeah. So, but we're right up on Halloween. I would put on haunted houses in my garage every year. And because my dad had access to stage light and sound equipment, I put on quite a show with smoke machines and black lights and strobe lights. That's cool. And that turned into, because I actually, long story, but my dad got out of the rock business, did not retain any of his money. So I actually grew up kind of lower middle class. So I did a lot of making my own toys and stuff. I had toys, but they were always like when the grandparents visited. And that sort of thing.
Just answered one of my questions that I had for you, and you knew I was going to ask it, and you took it from me.
Well, we can come back to that. So, anyway, as time went on, I have a love of literature, of movies. I'm a huge Ray Bradbury fanatic. And I just started trying to make my own stuff, my own comic books. I got really into comic books, knew a bunch of comic book artists, and I still do. And, just started trying to create my own stuff, but I never wanted to kind of play within the Hollywood system. I just didn't have it in me to, I tried it, doing the meetings and all that sort of thing. And finally, fast forward, I got married, I had a family. I did some projects in Los Angeles that usually ended up being for flaky people that came to nothing and just irritated me. So I decided to move to Texas and make my first feature film, The Quantum Terror, which is streaming on Tubi and Amazon and Filmzy, and I'm working on new stuff, science fiction. I don't know. Well, you've seen it. I'm sure we can get into it more. I don't want to blow the whole thing.
That was one of my questions, actually, that just got in.
I know.
I'm in the same boat with Roy.
See, I know you feel a little gypped now, right?
Well, I've still got questions, so I guess you guys
I'm
just need to catch up here.
Well,
so
the neighborhood in the movie caught my eye, and I immediately thought, I think I've seen that area.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I used to live in Texas.
All right, so that area is outside of Austin.
Yep, that's what I
in
thought.
Kyle, Texas. I don't live there anymore, so I don't mind spoiling that it was off of Farm to Market Road 150 in Kyle.
Okay.
You know that road?
I know most of the area around Texas. Yeah, I was actually living in Manor, right outside of Austin myself.
Okay, cool.
So
I love it here.
Maji Chan. Give me 2 seconds, guys. Maji Chan says, sorry, bought Chad's book. That's for $2. Thank you so much for tipping your bartender, good sir. I appreciate it. And guys, I will do my best to try to find the natural breaking point in the conversation. One of the things I was learning is we'll pop these up on the screen. So when you see these pop up on your screen, make sure you always finish your point. And then when there's a breath in the conversation, we'll give the time to the subscribers to just read their super chats. So
absolutely, I totally respect the chat. And by the way, I'll mention it now. I every Tuesday for Pop Culture Minefield, I got roped in by Gary, the host there, to hosting the Tuesday morning coffees at 10 Central. And I also live stream on my own channel from time to time. That's a little more erratic, but I love doing these things because if you guys are anything like me, and maybe you are, it's possible that you don't have a social life outside of this, and live streams are how you communicate with adults.
To some extent, yeah. To some extent, yes, I no, and honestly, and I do this because I enjoy it. I love talking. I always have. My parents used to tell me shut up a lot. And you know what? Then YouTube became a thing, and it's like, hey, mom, dad, look, I could do something where I don't have to shut up. So, quickly, guys, I totally spaced because I'm an idiot. I keep trying to tell people this. Nobody believes me.
I don't believe you.
Yeah, all right, we're already off to a bad start. What are we all drinking tonight? Let's start with Christopher Moonlight. Introduce what you are drinking tonight, good sir.
I am drinking a Roots Cellar California Red Blend. It's quite good for a cheap bottle of wine you can get at Target.
Hey, dude, Target's that fancy store.
That's still cultured for the Iron Age nights. You got to understand.
Well, I get my wine from Family Dollar. All right. Daniel, what are you drinking tonight, good sir?
I am just having myself a cup of cold green tea.
Ooh, there you go. Iron Age Media.
Yeah, and I finally chased down a Murphy's. So
ooh, there you go.
Nice
I like my stouts. My wife bought me a stout last week. It was a raspberry stout. That was really good. I am starting off the night with coffee because I was on Chad's channel until after 11 o'clock over here, and then I had to get up and this is my final day at my old job, and I'm transitioning to a new job. And so anyway, and then I will continue to the night with this lager from Buck Pocket Brewing. It's a lager style Hawktoberfest is what they call it. Ooh, it's a Marzen. Oh, it's a Marzen. Ooh, I like those. Sorry, I've had many beers, but yeah. So I will get to the drinking of the alcoholic beverages later, but coffee first in my Telltale Heart mug, which is my favorite story.
There you go.
Yeah, it's my favorite story by Edgar Allan Poe, and I love that story. All right, so I will stop interrupting. Iron Age Media, you said you had questions that haven't been answered.
Yes, yeah, they actually relate to the Quantum Terror. So I had a couple questions. When was that filmed? First of all,
I actually filmed that, I believe, ended up filming it between 2016 and 2017.
Okay, so it was a while ago, but I saw for some reason it was like listed as more recent. I think maybe it had been added more recently to like Tubi or wherever I watched it. So I wasn't sure what the date was on that. So was that like your first foray into like the feature length stuff, or?
Yes. Well, I had attempted short films in the past, and for one reason or another, either the contracts that I wrote up myself weren't properly done, that I figured out after the fact, and then people wanted to kind of pull shenanigans, or just, you know, the fact of the matter, I had one short film, I had a camera person just decide they didn't want to be a part of the short film anymore, and they disappeared on us with all the footage.
Oh no.
Yeah. So I decided that I was going, when I moved to that house, there was the right across the road, there was an underground, well, not underground, but it was a, you know, a wash tunnel that went under the road.
The
storm
drainage.
sewer. Yeah.
And when I was a teenager, I had gotten it into my head that I was going to make an Alien fan film. And where I lived, there were a bunch of wash tunnels. Those were circular. And they were all barred up, but my friends and I were skinny enough that we could go through the bars. And so we would go into them and like set off, you know, smoke bombs and mess around in there. And then we, one of my friends had a VHS camera and was like, hey, we can make a fan film. And so I got really excited. I built miniatures back then. I found like digging literally out of people's trash, pieces of drywall and stuff, and I would get hot glue and put hot glue all over them and paint it black, and I found that hot glue could make a good substitute miniature alien hive. I built my own alien rod puppet, and I was all set to go, and then my friends kind of all flaked, and their attitude was like, oh, that was just talk, we can't really do that. I was like, why not? So when I moved to this neighborhood, and like I said, I already had a couple of, one was a all green screen sci-fi flick that I wanted to do, which is kind of harkens to what I'm trying to do now with sci-exploitation, which we'll get to that later. I had shot that, and again, there were troubles with that. And then there was a horror film, a black and white kind of Lovecraftian style horror short that I tried to do, where that was the one where the person took off with all the footage. And this time I was like, okay, I don't really have any money, but I would like to write the script and buy my own camera. So I found a used Canon 7D, which anyone who knows about these things knows that at the time when those came out, they were kind of like what the Blackmagic 4K cinema or 6K cinema is now. It's like, wow, this is like the best quality consumer camera you can get. And they were actually shooting episodes of TV shows on them before TVs went ultra HD. A friend of mine who I had met, who was a big influence on me, who owned his own special effects company called Studio ADI. His name is Alec Gillis, and his partner.
Really quickly, if I may, this will not show up on the StreamYard side. Kikomon gifted 5 memberships to the channel. So thank you so much, Kikomon.
Wow.
Yeah,
Kikomon.
I appreciate you, dude. Thank you. Yeah.
Yes.
Kikomon, you are the man. Dude, the guy's great.
Cheers to anyone who's supporting the Iron Age, by the way. We will get into why I have a particular, I think, unique perspective on why the Iron Age is so important and how we kind of have to approach it and think about it. But we'll get to that. Anyway, so Alec had done the practical effects on the 2012 prequel to The Thing. There you go. The coffee is passing the baton.
I always love, I love the way this camera looks, to be 100% honest with you. So, and it just looks so good on camera when I do this. Sorry. I am not intending to interrupt.
No, I love those glasses. I think we got another super chat though.
Oh yeah, we've got quite a few actually. Should I rattle through some of the ones that we've gotten in the interim, guys?
Rattle through, yeah. Let's do it.
Talking Pulp Press, good sir. How are you doing? Talking Pulp Press is here. Shout out to Barbarians of the Storm and Dan the Destructor and the Barbarians of the Storm storyline.
Indeed.
He is doing great. I totally said that it was his newest book, but it wasn't on last night's show with Shad. I was so out of my element on that show. I was like, I'm literally tanking the show. Nobody is ever going to come back to Shad's. He's never going to have me back. It was bad. Kikomon for $2. Show me, show you. Kikomon late. He is like, yeah, Kikomon. He was working late today, man. He was showing some pictures of what he does. Dude, Kikomon's like way too smart to be on this channel. Way too smart to be on this channel. He was showing some of the stuff he does for a day job, and I was like, and you watch me? Let's keep scrolling here. There we go. Toxic Crusader.
Greetings from Tromaville.
Yeah.
Mhm.
There
Yeah.
you go. Toxic Crusader says, hey, #1 Iron Age creators. Crap. I can't get away from that now. Since you used your charisma to get shat on last week, I can only assume you got Eric July to make an appearance. Can't wait.
Throwing down the gauntlet.
Oh boy.
My friend Sean Malone got Eric July for his
Oh,
channel. He's
that's-
got a big channel. He was working for fee.org, the Foundation for Economic Education, which has a great
Oh, their
Yeah.
channel is incredible.
Mhm.
I love their channel.
Yeah, he left now, but his series Out of Frame, I hope people continue to check that out because it's a fantastic series. Sean writes and narrates that.
Oh, so he left there, but he's still doing Out of Frame?
No, he's not doing Out of Frame
Oh.
anymore, but he is still doing Common Sense Soapbox, the animated series.
Okay.
So, yeah, and they left on good terms. It wasn't like a split. He was just moving on with his career. But he got there's a great interview he did with Eric July on there maybe a few months before he left. So highly recommend that. And Eric July, man, he's an inspiration to all of us.
Yeah.
You know what I wanted to say though, in terms of Studio ADI doing the Thing practical effects, because I will tie this in, I promise.
No, you're good.
They got all of their practical effects work because the original, well, not the original, but the John Carpenter Thing was the practical effects of Rob Bottin, a little bit with Stan Winston. And so they were really hyped to do practical effects for this prequel. Well, it all got painted over by CGI. And so in, I think, 2012, 2013, maybe, Alec, it's a long story how I got to know him, but his studio is by where I used to work when I lived in California. He decided that he was going to do a crowdfunder, Kickstarter for a movie that was like an homage to both kind of the Roger Corman tradition of knockoff films on a low budget, where he got his start with his friend. He got his friend a job there, and that got him a job there too. His friend was James Cameron. Yeah.
Good friend.
Sorry, I hope that name drop didn't hit the floor too hard.
No. I've never
Nobody
heard
heard
of the
that.
guy. Well, I've never heard of the guy, but everybody else started laughing. So
So anyway, he decided to do this crowdfunder, and like I said, homage to the Roger Corman era, homage to movies like The Thing, Leviathan, Alien. He worked on Aliens. Their studio worked on the Alien franchise for ages, and Starship Troopers, Tremors. You might have heard some of these movies, but
no.
But he, despite all
I'm having
that,
a tough time placing them.
Yeah, they're kind of obscure, but if you look them up, you can figure out what
cult classics. I'm sure.
Yeah. But anyway, he decided, even despite his pedigree, he was having trouble getting stuff that he wanted to do produced. He always wanted to direct, along with his partner Tom Woodruff, and so they did Harbinger Down. When they released the crowdfunder for that, I immediately saw that they didn't know anything about social media. So they had this great project with this great pedigree. They had Lance Henriksen. You might have heard of him. He was on board to be the star. And so they ended up raising money not because they just put it out there, but because I take a little credit here. When, oh my God, you guys have no social media reach. I don't have any money to offer you, but let me offer you my time. And they said, okay. And I pulled a bunch of strings, got in touch with people like Comic Book Girl 19, who
I've heard of her.
Yeah, she was big kind of for a while, and then she kind of faded. But got him interviews before live streaming was really a thing. It was, the interviews on YouTube channels and that sort of thing. So Harbinger Down happened. You can see that on Tubi. And here's my copy of the Blu-ray, which cool. they signed for me, which was very nice. But that's anyway, awesome. That really kind of just was the thing. While they were doing the crowdfunder, I said to Alec, I said, look, this has to work, because if you don't make it, I've spent like my teenage years following your career and seeing all the work you did on these wonderful movies. If you can't make this movie happen, then what right do I have to expect that I can make anything happen? After that movie was done and I was working on my movie, Alec sent me on loan, I didn't get to keep them, but some animatronic tentacles so it's professional grade animatronic tentacles to put in my movie.
Nice.
And that was a really nice, it's a really great show of gratitude. And Alec is a really humble guy, but it just goes to show, even the people who are in Hollywood are looking at things like we do with this whole Iron Age movement, which is a new label on something that we were already doing. But I appreciate the label because it kind of helps codify everything.
I absolutely agree. I think that is exactly
100%.
what happened here. Is there were people that were out here for years trying to go at something, but they didn't have. Well, I'm an author. Okay, well, that doesn't really codify. But being like, hey, I believe in what's happening with this Iron Age thing. I'm writing books. I can be a part of this movement. Now all of a sudden it's like, oh, you're an author? It's like, well, I've been saying it for 5 years. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like that's what's happening right now.
Well, let me tell you this. Like I said, there are people in Hollywood that want to do what we're doing, and they are themselves being inspired by it. Do you guys remember there was a show on Sci-Fi, makeup challenge show called Face Off?
Mm-hmm.
You remember that show?
I had a friend who was a contestant on one of the seasons.
Oh, okay. Oh, well, one of my friends who worked on the Quantum Terror, she was a contestant on it too, on season 4, Jenna Green. And through her, I met Neville Page, one of the judges on it, who has designed for everybody. Steven Spielberg, Ridley Scott, James Cameron, J.J. Abrams. He's worked on all the Star Trek stuff, even no matter what you feel about current Trek. He's done some great designs for it. Prometheus, Avatar, all of this stuff. It's my Subscribe Star. Or not my Subscribe Star, my Linktree.
The Linktree.
I've got, my Linktree's got all those different links on there. So anyway, but Neville saw what I was doing with the Quantum Terror with the miniature tunnels. And
wait, those were miniatures?
He started messaging me.
Baller. I love it. God, that made me so happy.
Oh, well, what happened? Sorry.
No, I love. Sorry. So that's one of the things when you started talking about miniatures and practical effects in the Escape from Omega 12. Was that your site?
Escape from Planet Omega 12. Yeah.
Yes. So that was the hook, right? When you said practical effects and miniatures, and you're actually going to go back into the artistry of camera work and movie magic, which I think has been utterly and completely lost with CGI now. But you're also going to combine elements of CGI with it, as well as animation, to use basically all of the things that we have learned in filmmaking over the years, which I think some of the best things out there that have ever been done when it comes to the combination of CGI and practical effects was that was the peak, right? And so when you said you were going to be doing all of that stuff, that was my hook. That's why I was like, okay, nope, I'm doing a live stream. I'm talking about this guy's crowdfund. I'm going to talk about, I want to put him out there because the practical effects are the things that sell me on movies. I think, in my personal opinion, the best movie out there, especially at its time, that highlighted the use of practical with CGI, bar none, was Iron Man 1. That first Iron Man movie, because I have the behind the scenes, because I watch them, and I watch them religiously. Seeing how they put everything together. They would pull panels off of his suit and then put a green screen on there. And the rest of his suit was on, and just that one panel would be green. And then they would do their CGI work, match the lighting, match the blending and everything, which is why there are a lot of times it didn't look like there was a green screen anything there. It looked really natural. So when you come out and you say, hey, I'm going to use all of this stuff and combine it together to add, I was like, yep, let's go. Let's get back into the movie magic because I miss it.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you. And you know, you're definitely not the only one that feels that way. I mean, when they did Harbinger Down, Studio 80i is a practical effects company, and they actually pitched the movie to the Kickstarter as, we're not going to have any CGI monsters. We're going to do it practically. And he had his friend helped him, Steve Norrington, who directed Blade and League of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
That's where, okay.
And Steve is currently working on some, because he left Hollywood. He's still in California, but he left Hollywood to do his own thing. Another guy who probably is working in the Iron Age spirit right now. He's got a lot more money than we do.
That's one of the things that we really use right now.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, we'll address that, because I just want to say that Steve Norrington offered to do some CGI work and going like, look at how good this looks. And Alec was like, yeah, it looks good, but I promised as part of the Kickstarter, it would be practical. And for me, for both the Quantum Terror and Escape from Planet Omega 12, I kind of approach it like this. Look, Hollywood can offer the most expensive effects. And with Iron Man, they had Legacy Effects, which is what formed after Stan Winston died. It was Stan Winston Studios, and then it was Legacy Effects. And I know some of the people at Legacy Effects, they are the best of the best. And they're working with the CGI department that is the best of the best. And that's what Hollywood can offer. And I don't begrudge that. As a matter of fact, I have some, again, we'll come back around to that. But I actually do want to see Hollywood succeed. It breaks my heart what I'm seeing from Hollywood right now, but it's also detrimental to us. And I'll come around to why that is. But it's, for me, as creators, what we have to offer is artistry in I mean, look, what goes viral on social media? It's not someone who just paints a gorgeous picture. I mean, that happens sometimes, but it might be something to the effect of like, look at what this person made out of just cardboard, or look at what someone made out of, cake batter, or, just some, mesmerizing TikTok where someone's like, what is this person doing? And then suddenly, boom, it's some amazing thing. And you're like, how did they think to do that? Hollywood doesn't think that way. These days, they have a very manufactured system of doing things. They put, idea in one end, it goes through a bunch of cubicles, and out comes product.
Yeah.
And again, I don't begrudge that. I wish the product was better. And again, I'm not, here's the thing. I think there's kind of an attitude has come about now where it's, oh, we're going to, the Iron Age is here, and we're going to have like more decentralized creation, and Hollywood is going to crumble, and we're going to, and I've had this attitude in the past too. We're just going to walk across the rubble and take their audience and laugh. And I've come to realize that is not actually how it's going to be. I
would disagree on that last point that you made, especially with the interactions that I've had with a lot of the people out there. I don't think, at least with the people that I have spoken to through my Gilded, through emails that I'm getting, and just, the private messages and all that, and what people are talking about, the sentiment that I'm getting is, okay, let them burn down their house over there. That's fine. We don't want it. We don't want to go anywhere near it. They had their chance. We loved them for a long time. They ruined that thing. And we're just going to go over here. And we're going to build, and it's going to take us some time, but we're going to build our thing over here, and we'll wave some people by. I get the sentiment from a lot of people that there is a ground up, let's hammer it out. Let's put our noses to the grindstone and keep going. I don't think, at least, I don't know. Rich, Daniel, am I off on this?
Well, I think that I think you might be having some selection bias. You know what I mean? I think that there's probably, you know, I think in terms of like the general market, I think that there's probably still a lot of people who are still just kind of consuming garbage and would happily, you know, rather consume something slightly better than garbage, you know, if it was offered to them.
Yeah.
But I don't know that, you know, it's like a lot of things. You know, sometimes I think people, uh, you know, are you know, say eat healthy, do this, do that, check what's in your, you know, check the nutrition facts and all this other stuff. And
Mhm.
you could say that as much as you want, but most people are just going to be like, pick up the easiest and cheapest thing within reach and they're
Yep.
going to eat it. And then if it says, you know, oh, this has, you know, this thing is made out of literally nothing but corn syrup and asbestos, it's going to be like, well, it still tastes pretty good, I guess. I'm not dead
It's
yet.
faster than cooking for myself.
Yeah, exactly.
One of my favorite things to say to people is sugar-free is a lie. Because I actually read the nutrition facts. But there's reasons behind why I do. But well,
what's your hypothesis, Chris? I know you were
well,
there was like a second half of that sentiment that I think you were getting to, or
Yeah, I
where
kind of
do you
agree
think
with
it's
you,
going?
so I want to hear the rest.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
so here's how I see it, and so Iron Age Media, that is a really good point, and I think, you know, and we've all been there too. Sometimes we don't want to cook, and there's that like frozen hamburger in the section. You're like, I'll just microwave and eat that. That's not that bad, just a little. There's a lot of different camps of people. There are definitely the people who want to support the arts, patrons. You know, we're seeing them in the chat, and I'm kind of like keeping one eye on the chat a little bit here and there and seeing some great comments. You know, but yeah, there's a lot of normies out there. When I talk about this stuff in my day-to-day life, they think it sounds cool, but they're not going to go make an effort to check it out. And I'm not going to pressure, you know, I'm not going to like put in the thumb screws like, no, you have to, because the more you kind of hammer it on people, the more they're like, okay, like Christopher's got his thing and like he's going to talk about it and we're going to say whatever and then ignore it. And you know, there are those two camps. But the thing is that Hollywood, like I said, there are people in Hollywood, I know because I talk to them, that love what I'm doing and what other people are doing. And they tell me, and then they go and do their own little projects. I hope Neville doesn't mind me saying this, but Neville Page, who's worked for all these great directors and stuff, went and made a short film and sent me a private link to it and said, you inspired me to do this. Neville Page, who is like, you know, the top guy, and just blew my mind that he would do that. But he loves this. But he's, again, for all their prestige, they got to work within that system, and they've got to, you know, say how much they love new product if they want to keep working. I don't know if they genuinely do or not.
What a corrosive attitude to have.
Well, you have to remember too that, I mean, a lot of them are friends and a lot of them want to support each other just like we want to support each other too. So I don't begrudge them that. What I do begrudge, and I think this is a problem that we wouldn't have if Hollywood was creating better products and seeing more success. I actually think if Hollywood was being more successful right now, we ourselves would also be seeing more success. I do believe that the two can coexist. But what's happening at the moment, and we're especially seeing this, I'll use the comic book industry as an example. The comic book industry has squat at the moment, and they feel very threatened by DCC. Hi, crazy. I like that. I want to call you crazy when you don't have an, you're crazy. But you know, what's going on is, because the comic book industry is seeing all these great crowdfunding campaigns that are really successful with successful personalities like your boy Zach, Ethan Van Sciver, Eric July. There's another one that
Shad Brooks right now is killing it. Like,
so what do they do instead of trying to up the quality? Because the people in charge don't know how to create quality. They're not even qualified. I wouldn't even call some of these comic book writers hacks, because at least the hack has some inclination of telling some cheapo style story. Like You could call a lot of the stories in Roger Corman movies hack stories. I still find them entertaining as hell. I absolutely love them. You know,
I love the Expendables movies. So
yeah.
You
Hacky
know,
can be fun.
I love the Blade franchise, and I love Battle Beyond the Stars and Galaxy of Terror, both which James Cameron worked on. You know, that is, these people aren't even qualified as that. They are in positions that they have no qualifications for. They don't care about. They have no inclination of how it works or why people like it. So what do? They flood to keep us from competing because they're threatened by us. And again, they shouldn't be threatened by us because I think again, if both industries are thriving, then we're actually,
I will be right
rising
back,
time.
gentlemen. I have to go do some dad things. Give me just a minute. I apologize.
Okay, no problem. A rising tide lifts all boats. It's but instead they're flooding the shelves with just garbage. The sole purpose of these comics existing is just to take up shelf space so we don't have any. And I think if they were making good products and if they were successful, they wouldn't feel the need to do that. They would just put out what is profitable, what is good, and what does well for them. And that would leave space on the shelf. And I use that term metaphorically for more independent creators. So, that's kind of that's my theory at the moment. Of course, our business models are different. Their business model is get the broadest audience possible, and they will always be able to do that because there is that large swath of the population that are normies. And these days, at my age, I kind of almost feel a kinship to some of them. It's like I see all this stuff coming out, and I'm like, I don't care. I don't want anything to do with it. Like, what can I just turn on and have a glass of wine with? Right. Oh, a super chat.
I didn't mean to cut you off. I was just trying to give a good segue here. I'm sorry. Turns out it wasn't my kids. It was my wife doing something in the kitchen that was making all the noise. Anyway.
Usually it's a cat with me. I'm going to go yell at a cat. And then it's my wife. Like, oh, sorry.
Then you get yelled at. Anyway, kick them on for $5. Thank you so much for that tip, good sir. Trippy and I troubleshooted why Jack Murphy's beer was brown around the mouth. Oh, God. Oh no, he is a heavy soy drinker, tainted his beard. Oh God. Oh dear God.
I actually had a thought.
That is some deep internet lore. You don't need to. Do you know about the Jack?
If you
Murphy
don't know,
thing?
Don't find out.
I don't want to initiate him.
But I was going to say, I think that I would agree with your assessment about trying to take up shelf space. I also think that in part they're trying to do that because everything has become so managerial, right? At least that's my sense of just everything. Just about every industry is now infested with administrators and managerial types. And not to say that you need zero management. But
I think we have the largest amount of viewers that have ever been concurrent on the channel at 39 viewers. Thank you guys so much.
Welcome to the show, newcomers.
Yes. Thank you guys. That is absolutely incredible. Thank you all so much for being here. 41. Wow. And climbing.
Hey, there we go.
Thank you guys. Wow. That makes this little channel feel very special. I'm sorry, Rich. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but
no problem.
I felt I had to say thank you.
No, but what I was going to say is that I think that the other side effect, aside from trying to keep the market saturated, even if it's just with what they know is garbage, is they're trying to keep their how do managers measure worth? Usually they measure their value in budgets and personnel. And how do you keep your budgets and personnel up? You constantly have projects. So they're just sitting there. They aren't inspired to create anything. They're just scraping up whatever they can get their hands on and feeding it to their teams and saying, yep, we just need something. Just keep us busy. We can't be the people who are not working. You know what I mean? And so I think that there's probably multiple factors, but I also see just kind of like a brainless sort of what I call like avoidance of pain decision making. You know what I mean? Like it's there's no higher brain function. They're just like, I don't want my budget cut. I don't want to have to, you know what I mean? I don't want to take any status hit. I don't want to take any risks. I'm just going to avoid pain and just do the safest thing I can.
Oh, let's go where the cash is.
Yeah, which is
But they don't know where the cash is. They
sure.
They go with what
they assume they know where the cash is.
Yeah.
Well, they know where their bosses are getting cash. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
But
they're not like even out
is
there trying to feed themselves. They're just trying to appease bosses who.
What I mean is that it's more. It seems more like it's around generating revenue and justifying the positions that they're all in than actually making something that would generate revenue. So that's why I said I agree with Christopher, because you see something comes out and then they make at least 3 more of them.
Ooh.
Immediately afterwards.
It's Mike Miller.
Mike.
Oh, you got it right this time.
I was gonna say, hey there, Mark. How are you doing?
Mark.
Oh, no.
I had been up
Mark.
for I had been up for 20 hours when I said that. I was losing it levels of tired.
That makes the live streams more fun. I mean, this is the great thing about live streams. They're conversations, they're long form conversations. And sometimes we screw up. Sometimes we say funny things. Yeah. Sometimes we admit to sleeping with people we shouldn't have slept with.
Oh no. Hey, so this conversation just got really fun. Sir.
By the end of our show, Royce starts forgetting people's names.
Yeah, that's amazing.
I have a kind of a weird question. Did your dad manage Smashing Pumpkins?
No, he didn't. But he did build road cases for them, because after he stopped managing bands, he created a road case construction company called Ascot Manufacturing. And he did all the flight cases for all the major bands: Metallica, Smashing Pumpkins, Madonna, nice. Iron Maiden, just Korn.
Did he know like other managers and stuff? Is that like a small circle?
Yeah. I mean, yes and no. You don't know everybody.
Gasser is?
What's that?
Do you know who Kevin Gasser is?
No, that name doesn't ring a bell.
No, okay. He managed Smashing Pumpkins, but
my dad probably did know him then, because he did work with the managers. My godfather was Martin Birch, who was a producer. He did stuff for Black Sabbath, Deep Purple, Iron Maiden. Very, very well respected producer. And it's funny too. It's one of those things. I was so oblivious as a kid. Like a lot of kids, I was in a garage band. I didn't realize how well connected I was. I could have taken that garage band to the max, and I had no idea. And my dad was so done with the industry, he wasn't going to offer, So new subscriber.
No, my niece's one of my niece's other uncles is Kevin Gasser, and
okay,
he was Smashing Pumpkins manager. So I just thought there might be a weird connection thing there, because I think he also lives in Thousand Oaks.
Oh, well, yeah, a lot of them do. Wow, that's cool, though. You made today the greatest day.
Do you know Paul Smith? I mean, it's not like you know everybody in Thousand Oaks, but
I used to go to Paul Smith's house.
I've been
and
there.
Hang out in his studio with him.
No way.
When he found out I wanted to be a comic book artist, he did a signing at a store I worked at when I was 17 called Heidi Ho Comics. And I got to meet some great creators there. I got to meet Paul Smith, Frank Miller, Bill Morrison, who headed up Bongo Comics when they were doing the Simpsons comic books. Len Wein.
I met Len Wein the year he died. Actually, just a couple months before he died. When he was
I've actually gotten to have phone conversations with Len Wein, which is a whole other story.
My daughter was seated. She had her first artist alley booth at San Diego Comic-Con, and she got to sit next to Len Wein for the show.
Oh, wonderful. He was a wonderful guy. Him and Bernie Wrightson was also.
I sat next to Bernie Wrightson at a con too.
Loved him. He was one of the artists I used to show up at every signing and every convention he was at, to the point where he's like, what do you got for me to sign this time? You know, I got a bunch of stuff signed, and I did it. It's like I could have just gotten it signed and put it on eBay or whatever, but I had everything personalized. And that was a habit of mine, so I was never tempted to do that. Same with my Frank Miller autograph, but Paul Smith was always wonderful to me. I'm sorry I lost touch with him. I don't know what he's doing these days, but I would go into he's like, come over to the house. He was working on a project called Leave It to Chance. And he had just done a book.
It's about the time that I
What was the book he did that was kind of Watchmen-esque? I think he did it. Golden Age, I think is what it was called. Anyway, fantastic guy. Yes, I did know Paul Smith very well. And
he came to my wedding. It was like one of the highlights of my, because I was just him and John Byrne were like my two biggest influences when I was, in junior high, and then he ends up coming to my wedding, and I was like just so nerded out because I was at Wildstorm at the time, and so when we did the con circuit, because my wife was the voodoo model, and so we'd all go around, and so I went to a bunch of different cons with Paul, and we'd. he and my wife and I would hang out a lot, and that was really fun. So.
That's really cool. Yeah, I was a big Comic-Con kid. I went from I think 94 to 2012 is my Comic-Con era, and so I mean you were a Wildstorm guy, so you obviously remember the Malibu era.
I started my first job was at Malibu.
Okay, did you go into Heidi-Ho Comics in Thousand Oaks?
I don't think so. I mean, I didn't work in Malibu. I didn't work at Malibu, which was also in Thousand Oaks. But I went up there. I don't remember even how I ended up hanging out at Paul's house, but I got to rifle through his original covers and stuff too. So
yeah,
he's got
his little
he probably still
studio
has a bunch
space
of
in
those
there,
X-Men covers left.
He was wonderful. Yeah, and with Heidi-Ho Comics, there were a lot of Malibu guys that came in there at the time. And my comic art has never been good enough for publication. I consider myself an adequate artist these days, but I don't have the fortitude to sit down and do page after page. But just speaking of, remember at the beginning of the show, guys, I said I've had celebrity encounters and not known it until after the fact.
Mm-hmm.
I will tell this story very quick. I've told it before, but it's a fun story. So this kid used to come in all the time to Heidi-Ho Comics where I worked, and I forget what comics he bought, but he comes in one day and he says, hey, like I'm in a new movie. It's coming out this weekend. You should go see it. I was like, oh, cool. Now, when someone says that to you when you live right outside of Hollywood, usually it's like, look for me in the background, or maybe they've got a single line or something like that.
I'm the guy with the yellow shirt.
Yeah, exactly. And I was like, that's awesome. Do you have a speaking part? He's like, yeah, it's actually a lead role. And I was like, oh my God, congratulations. That's so cool. I'm so happy for you. And he's looking at me like I'm making fun of him, but he wasn't sure.
Poor kid.
So, he buys his comics. He's, he leaves. And then one of my friends that I'm working with comes in, and I was like, hey, it's like, that kid with the blondish, kind of dirty blonde, spiky hair that comes in and I forget what comics he bought. But these comics, it's like, he says he's in a movie that's coming out. He's like,
don't tell me, Christian Slater.
No, Leonardo DiCaprio.
Oh,
It's like, you mean Leonardo DiCaprio? It's like, is that who that is? Like,
was that right after Family? What was it, Family Ties, or no, the other one?
Well, again, I never saw What's Eating Gilbert Grape. I never watched that sitcom. So I didn't have like an immediate frame of reference. I knew who Leonardo DiCaprio was, but apparently his dad is a big underground comics hippie guy, and he was friends with the owner of the store. So he shopped there all the time. I didn't know about it, So, and it turns out the movie he was talking about was The Quick and the Dead, which was directed by Sam Raimi. Which my big geek out would have been like, oh my God, you got to work with Sam Raimi? Tell me about
Wilder.
Yeah.
Really quick, guys, if I can. Ram put this one up a little earlier for $2. Welcome new subscribers to the #1 Iron Age channel. And then because for some weird reason, StreamYard won't pull it up, Kikomon gifted another 10 memberships to a drink with Crazy. So thank you so much. Keep them on. I appreciate you.
Very nice.
Yeah,
That
I
is just
appreciate
insane.
it too. By the way, everyone supporting this channel. This is a good channel. I'm really
Don't
happy to see
lie
you
to them.
thriving. I,
Our Lord of Soy helping us out.
Dude,
No, Royce, you seem so much more at ease on this channel.
yeah. Yeah. Shut up, Mark. I was unbelievably out of my gourd yesterday. I like
should I
Yeah,
take
well,
this opportunity to get more to drink?
You were second
go
guessing
for it.
every
We're gonna
word
laugh
that was
for a
coming out of
solid
your
5
mouth. That
minutes
was
not
crazy.
even
on this
that's not even a
podcast.
lie. I was triple guessing it, dude. That's not even a lie. It's this thing that and I call it, being the master of your own domain, right? But and Chris, if you need to go get more to drink, go get more to drink. There's a little go
I
go
tell you
for
what,
it.
I will be back in just a minute. I'm gonna
Absolutely.
turn off my camera and mute
Yeah.
because it's my girls' bedtime, so I'm gonna go say goodnight to them. And yeah, pour a little more to
Absolutely.
drink.
Hey, cheers to
hell
the
do I
dads,
mute-
everybody.
Yeah,
Cheers to
we got,
dad.
we got
Bottom
another
left.
dad
Bottom
tube
left.
going on
I'll
here.
look
Yeah,
at him.
dad
proving
tube.
he's
Iron
real
Age
beer.
dads.
Yep.
Oh,
Iron
there we
Age
go.
dads.
Okay.
Yeah.
that's
Cheers
us.
to the dads. So no, it's calling, being the master of your own domain, and that's what I call it. A lot of people, there's a
You big Seinfeld fan?
I was a watcher of Seinfeld. I wouldn't necessarily call myself a fan. It was one.
Do you not know what that infers?
No.
Okay, never mind.
Anyway,
Everyone
tell you
else
what-
here does. Look at him.
No, I'm sure, but no. So, because everybody, are you introvert or an extrovert? I'm like, well, not really. I'm not really either. They're like, well, do you like being around people or not being around people? I'm like, hold on. Okay, in public, out at other places that are not my house where I don't have control over the situation, I hate being around people for the most part. But if I can invite 40 or 50 people over to my house and get the grill going and get the smoker going and cook for 40 or 50 people and entertain, I love it. And I have a blast doing it. So when I'm on a channel that is not mine, that is not my little tiny little pocket of the internet that I am trying to carve out, and everybody who is in the chat, with the exception of my guys who are there, has no clue who the hell I am. And there are these YouTubers that are rising very quickly. They are, some of them, just monolithic in the space that we're in. People that I've been watching for years, and then all of a sudden I'm sitting on the same live stream as they are, and I'm like, and not only that, they all know how the whole live stream, don't talk over each other, jump in here, don't jump in there. They all understand how that whole thing works. I'm still trying to figure it out.
All right. Well, I mean, if it helps any, I can tell Shad not to invite you again.
You could absolutely do that, and I would be completely 100% grateful for the I figured he was going to have a full panel. I figured a bunch of people were going to jump on, and I ended up being like the first guy in there for like 5 or 10 minutes, and I was just like, this is weird.
Yeah. So what happened was I was supposed to be on Adams on Wednesday. That was what we had scheduled the week prior. And then this other very important meeting, they scheduled it for. That looks wonderful.
Oh, it's amazing. No, I was just showing you it's not Bud Light.
I know. Well, you held it up. I could tell it wasn't Bud Light. See?
Sorry. So you had the important meeting, and you ended
up. I
had
an important meeting, but then that meeting got canceled, moved to Saturday, and it was crazy. It was a crazy day yesterday or Wednesday, anyways. So I couldn't make that. So I had to reschedule that to Thursday, and then Shad scheduled that show to start an hour earlier than I expected to go to 5 on Krigler's, and then we would have both jump over there, and then he schedules it for 4, and I'm like, and so I'm like, I don't know who's gonna be on. Everybody in Orlando is out like at theme parks and crap. It's like, I don't know. I didn't want to tell him, to change the time or anything. I know he can just shoot the crap by himself for an hour, but that's why it was you and Shad and then John and then at 5 me and Adam came in and saved the day.
And then I was super, super stoked to see
Disparu and Mahler.
Mahler and Literature Devil. Two people that I just want to see those two just sit down and talk about a subject because I love both of their channels. Like, and I've never seen them on a live stream together ever. I don't know if they've even done one together.
You don't watch EFAP?
Occasionally I do. But you know, EFAP goes longer than a marathon. It's ridiculous.
Oh yeah, it's like 12 hours.
It's like 12 hours. That's what I was like. I'm like,
this is why when you go to Mahler's channel and you look at the videos, he uploads like one every 6 months because he takes down the EFAP. So it's like,
yeah, it's absolutely no. That was I was trying not to come off as obviously out of my gourd, and then I looked over at the camera. I was like, oh, everybody sees it. It's not even hidden at this point.
I'm trying to get there so you don't feel alone.
I was so that was really cool. That was probably like my 50,000 subscriber goal was to do something like that, and turns out it happened at right around about 1,200. So
well, anyway. Now you're at 1.34. So
yes, yeah, that happened fast.
Speaking of moving right along, though, I gotta say, Shadow of the Conqueror, Enemies of Self, thing's gonna crack. That's gonna crack 500K.
Indeed,
sure.
Indeed.
Yeah, I mean it's
good.
Where
at 486,715.
Is that your
20 grand just during Friday Night Tights?
Is that your book, Mike?
It's mine and Shad's. I mean, Shad is the one. I adapted Shad's novel, and Shad's doing all the heavy lifting on marketing. So, but I wrote it, I drew it, I'm controlling the campaign. So I'm doing all the grunt work, I guess. Well, he's marketing. Like I say, dude, the marketing is the hardest part of any business, and so he's doing what's the hard work that makes a business successful. And I'm doing the stuff that could be replaced by anybody else.
Well, I gotta say, not necessarily, because I really believe this is something that I've been trying to tell other filmmaker friends of mine who don't even want to have a look. And sorry, hold on a second, just so you can see what's going on just below. We've got a cat that likes to nurse on my thumb. So she's been doing it since she's a kid, and she's kind of like a crack addict for my thumb. But anyway, that aside, I've been telling filmmakers, like, look at what the crowdfunders, the independent comic book crowdfunders are doing. This is a model that independent filmmakers should be looking at, because independent films, our budgets are generally lower than what you guys are raising for your comic books. And there's a bit of a trade-off. I mean, you guys are paying for printing, which, I mean, yeah, there are Blu-rays, but for the most part we do digital work. But it's like I see comic book crowdfunders raising 80 to 200,000 to in the rare occasion of like Ethan Van Sciver, over $1 million, and thinking, damn, we could, as indie filmmakers, if we, consolidate, minimal cast, work within our means, could do some amazing stuff with that. And yet, for some reason, we're not having the same. I mean, I gave it a try with my Escape from Planet Omega 12 campaign, but there was definitely oh, thank you. Yes, I've got cats everywhere. It's an infestation, actually.
Oh, you too.
It's but with these campaigns, there's certainly a lot that filmmakers could learn from the independent comic book creators and apply it to what we're doing. I mean, I certainly, with the Quantum Terror, I crowdfunded a little bit of it, and I got an investor, and I also sold a car, and happened to get a good tax return one year and put that towards that. But it was like scraping and scrounging. But the comic book creators, I don't know, they seem to have a good thing going on, which I certainly would like to get in on. Not just for the fact that go ahead. Yeah.
It's there's a couple different ways to go about it. Like I think I mentioned Brian Polito on the other show.
Amazing guy,
You know, he's built up his crowdfunding over like 5 years now or something like that. And he started with 50 to 70,000 or something on his first campaign. And then every campaign he's building that audience and building it to the point where I think what's he around 400,000 now on his campaigns. I don't even know. Somebody can look it up.
It's amazing. Yeah.
Right. But the way, like with Ethan and your boy Zach and even Ripa, they were building. They're selling to a pre-created audience, and not to all of them, obviously. I mean, these guys had 100,000, or in Ripa's case, 500,000 subscribers, and still, you get a small fraction of those guys to go in to purchase them, but they're doing it not just for the product, they're doing it for the purpose, right?
Yes.
They're doing it for the movement. In Ethan's case, it's the Comicsgate movement, and that's kind of its own thing. How you do that as a filmmaker, how you build up an audience or become part of an audience, obviously it's possible because but you have to be in the right place. Like Shad's going on Friday Night Tights, so he's been a part of that show for a good couple of months now, and so tonight they sat down and they showcased his book several times because the campaign's closing tomorrow, although we're probably going to extend it. But how like if one of those guys decided they wanted to start doing film, which I feel like Quarter Black Garrett would want to do something like that.
Well, I mean, they actually already have a few guys. I mean, Josiah Rises,
right.
And Epic Mike, they're opening up the universe. Well, I mean, the Critical Drinker, he's doing it, but I mean, so there are enough people out there. Actually, you know what? I mean, Chris, with your knowledge of the people that you just know, might not hurt for you to maybe reach out to the Young Bucks doing the Epic Verse stuff and see if you could collaborate with them on just pick their brains. I don't know if you know who they are, and I don't even know how to make those connections. That's literally something I'm spitballing.
Yeah, because really it is like I'm saying, this is the marketing arm, right? It's like you've got these thoroughbred horses of marketing waiting for a cart that they can run with, right? And so if you've got like I have a bunch of connections in comic world and author world and even some in Hollywood and whatever. And so when I hook up with somebody like Shadiversity, like I said, Shad's doing he's doing all the marketing. That's freaking awesome. But when he wants to develop out these other projects, he was naming some big names. I'm like, oh yeah, I can get you his phone number. I can get you his email. It's like, he's all, how do you know it? I'm like, do you forget that I've had dinner with Robert Jordan and breakfast with George R.R. Martin? And it's like, it's not like I'm not, I know people that know people. So
it's funny because a lot of the people I know are very hesitant. I bring this stuff up and they kind of almost, they're happy to talk and, you're messaging back and forth. And then you bring up this sort of thing and then suddenly they're not responding anymore. And I think there's, again, because of the people I know, they're all ensconced in certain aspects of things that it's almost like they're afraid to be associated with what we're doing.
Right. They'll get blacklisted.
Yeah, exactly.
You got to work with guys like Robert Gotti.
Right? Yeah. Well, my philosophy is, of one of authenticity. I believe that there's a saying that I sing on a TED talk or something like that. I forget who said it, but it's people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. And I used that philosophy when we were doing the crowdfunder for Harbinger Down. Harbinger Down was doing it because they really wanted to do a practical effects film, and there were so many people that believed in that. But they also knew the pedigree of what Studio 80i had done. So it was a lot harder for me because I was nobody. And I figured I have some credibility with the Quantum Terror, but that audience didn't quite cross over. The marketing for the Quantum Terror post-production, like now that it's on demand and you can watch it for free, has been doing really well, but it's because you can just go, hey, just go watch it. It's free.
Mhm.
And they go, yeah, that's free is the price is right. So I think that, the reason now that I'm doing a lot of these live streams with both here and Pop Culture Minefield and my own is really just trying to get out the message of why I love this and why it's so important to me. It's certainly a lifestyle. In a way, a lot of it is like creating comic books. I'm not making movies in the traditional sense. I'm almost a one-man band. A lot of it is doing, miniatures and, here I'm working with puppets and compositing and kit bashing stuff. I might do a little show and tell here. And I was talking to Peter Sametti over at Alterna Comics. And I was saying to him, like, I've even considered doing comic books where it's like photographing this stuff and doing composites, because I just love working this. And by the way, this is an escape pod, like little retro booster thing there. I just love building this stuff and I love making it move. I love, and I mean, some of this stuff is really small. I've got, let's see. This guy here, it's kind of hard to see what it is, but this is actually for a friend of mine's movie called Brimstone Saint. It's like a Lovecraftian mountain range, but
very cool.
Thank you. It's it's like some people, they love working with paint. They love working with pen and ink. I love working with puppets and miniatures and stuff like that. And, it's like, if I don't do this, I'm going to die. I mean, my heart may still beat.
That's how I feel about writing.
Yeah. I could go and, get a regular job and probably make much better money. But life would cease to be the joy would be sucked out of it. So, sure. I want to do live streams and I want to communicate with people because I want to reach people who see this stuff and feel the same joy, because anybody can get behind a computer and learn these programs and just generate it CGI style. It's a really hard sell to say, hey, look, I'm making robot arms out of pulleys and like, I mean, can anyone recognize this? This is like,
yeah.
It's like, and to see people who will watch movies like that and point, like the Leonardo DiCaprio meme, and go, oh, he used an office, wheel for that, or he used, I don't know, like a sports drink bottle for that building or something like that.
It's like think of some of the Star Trek Next Generation. They got a bunch of their crap from like Cost Plus.
Yeah.
look at some of the greatest movies that have come out in, I mean, not my generation, but I mean, you think of Jaws. Jaws comes to mind when you talk about miniatures. I mean, obviously Star Wars with the miniatures and the practical, and the props that they had.
The prequels had amazing miniatures, by the way. Just want to throw that out there.
Well, and look at the miniature sets that PJ did for the original Lord of the Rings trilogy.
Oh, I mean, my God,
the sets, if you again, and I love since Spider-Man 2 came out back in the day, that's when I fell in love with the behind the scenes of the movies, and I kind of fell out of love with it as the CGI stuff really started taking place, because you realize that it just looked like there was a lot less work going on. Not that there actually was. It just looked like it, and
well, here's the thing about CGI, and the artists behind it are incredible, and they're constantly looking to push the envelope. But the problem is, and I won't even say the problem, it's just my preference, and I think there are a lot of people who agree with that. It loses its tactile quality, because whatever you do, however you push the envelope, it'll always be pixels and polygons. It's always, you're always essentially putting your, you ever see those tumblers, like you put glass and like sand and smooth it out? Yeah. CGI, whatever creative endeavor you do, CGI will tumble it and smooth it out. So it's always that same smooth piece of glass. You don't get the edges. You don't get the texture. You don't get the, and again, God bless those people. They do amazing work, and they often, I forget what it was. It did Life of Pi. It's like they work their asses off just to get bankrupt.
This question just popped into my head, and I've actually never thought about this before. Where do you think? And I'll just give a quick example that I thought of, because again, never thought of this before, so I'm on the fly here. Where do you think that CGI best fits into like a production when it comes to mostly practical effects? For me, I think CGI could benefit the lighting, and that's where CGI could probably just kind of stay, just to help with some of the lighting, because as much as you try to control lighting in the outside world, there's only so much you can do, but CGI, you can go in and kind of dial it in. Where do you think that CGI fits best in a production?
It's okay. So I'm going to give you kind of a little bit of a weird answer to this.
Yes.
Because
do it.
You can talk about the merits of maybe like hard surfacing CGI, especially when it comes to environmental creation. CGI does wonderful with buildings and cars and Iron Man suits, robots, that sort of thing. And we could talk about how, horror movies don't seem to benefit from CGI because there's something about the tactile nature of horror movies that really, just seems to take people out of the moment when it's CGI. But I'm actually going to kind of give you a little bit of a different answer. And this is something that, as someone who is a writer, I've come to realize, and that is, people always say story first. I say story is actually a close second to something far more important, which is the medium. I think that the best stories are told by the people who love the medium they're telling them in. So Stephen King's novels are always going to be the best as novels. And most of the time, anyone who loves novels and is excited about a novel being turned into a movie isn't excited about it because they want to see that story turned into a movie. They're excited about it because they think that a movie is going to excite people more and get them to read the novel that they care about. And that is why so many people, when the movie comes out, they're so disappointed because they go, well, it wasn't like the book. Well, no, because movies are their own medium. You get a genius like Stanley Kubrick who realizes that you're not going to turn The Shining into a good movie unless you are able to comprehend and distill the essence of The Shining and then recreate it into something that works well in the medium of film. And that's why I despise when people go, I want to see my movie script realized, but I'm going to make a comic book first as pitch material. Well, then you get, and Peter Samedi and I had a really great conversation about this on my own channel. You get these really boring, stilted comic books who are written by people who don't understand that it's a different medium and how to cater to that. They're just trying to translate their script. However,
that's why adapting is an art into itself.
It is, because you have to understand, and I'm not against adapting, by the way. I want to make this perfectly clear. It's distilling the essence of the story and remaking it to push that medium to its maximum potential, which is why, in terms of animation, I am in love with the work of Genndy Tartakovsky, because he created Samurai Jack, first Dexter's Laboratory, then Samurai Jack.
Oh
then
my God,
Primal.
yes.
Yeah, Primal recently.
When you watch those, this is a guy, and when you watch Hotel Transylvania and you listen to his interviews about Hotel Transylvania, he really tried to figure out how to take what he loves about animation and translate it into, because he's a hand-drawn guy, to translate it to CGI, to create his own style of CGI animation that he could feel happy with. When you watch these are very clearly stories created by someone who loves animation and wants to push the envelope of animation. That's why Alan Moore's The Watchmen, although I did enjoy the Zack Snyder version of it, it really only reaches its full potential because there's a meta narrative about comic books in The Watchmen through Dr. Manhattan, throughout the whole thing, that only makes sense as a complete piece of art because Alan Moore wanted to create something that could only be told in comic book format. So that is, when you ask about CGI, there are going to be people who are passionate about CGI and find ways to push the envelope of CGI in ways that are really thrilling and exciting. My problem with CGI isn't those people. My problem with CGI is people who see, what is it? Alec, again, going back to my friend Alec Gillis, he said, CGI is like, if all you have is a hammer, then every solution is, every problem is going to look like a nail.
Yep.
And that's, that's where I have a problem with CGI, which is not a problem with CGI at all. It's just a misuse. And
I think it should be a tool in the toolbox and not the whole toolbox.
Well, it's fantastic for me because I love working with green screen, because I love being able to, as a one-man band, I can't, like, if I want a robot puppet, if you're on a Hollywood set and you say robot puppet, you're talking like 5, 6, 7 puppeteers, either doing, cable control or the rods. I'm doing it by myself. So what I do is I shoot the torso and then I motion track that. And then I shoot the arm and then I track them together. And that in a way has been very exciting for me because it's taking my love of building puppets and miniatures, and it's taking my love of illustration, because I was going to add hand-drawn stuff to I am going to add hand-drawn stuff to Escape from Planet Omega 12 as well. And it's taking my love of just compositing, being able to take those green screen elements and do color correction, wire removal, track things on, like if you notice with this escape pod, I kind of just hand drew on these little hatches here that are going to get blown and parachutes are going to come out of. Well, I'm going to motion track those and actually do animated hatches on those after the fact. So it's afforded me this flexibility of working within the medium I love and not being constrained by, like with Harbinger Down, he was very rigid, almost to a fault, where he said, we're not going to use any CGI. And sometimes the old school solution probably wasn't as cool looking, but again, it had its own charm to it. So again, I shouldn't begrudge that. But what I'm looking to do here is, by combining these different aspects of these different mediums, pulling from the new technology and pulling from what I love about the old school, creating something new, and also in almost a new medium of film storytelling, because now we have video on demand, and video on demand offers us a kind of flexibility that we didn't have before. Because if you were making a movie, you had to make it within a certain time frame to make sure you got a certain amount of showings a day. Or if you're making a television show, then you had to write it to commercial breaks, and you had to make sure it was a certain length of time. And I see some video on demand stuff failing because they're trying to stick to that model in a new format that could actually be very flexible. They're trying to go like, each episode needs to be an hour long, but they only have about 15 to 20 minutes worth of content. So they pad it out.
Yeah.
Where
that's a big problem right now. That is a big problem.
And video on demand should, you could have a TV series that's one episode's 40 minutes, one episode's an hour and a half, 1 minute's 15. 1 minute. More wine.
1 minute turns into 15 minutes. Turns into, hey, where'd my bottle of wine go?
But it's the video on demand has a my cat's pawing it. My cat wants out because I shut my office door. Video on demand has a lot of potential to evolve into its own storytelling format, and I don't think we've fully grasped, or we can fully predict that's going to be. It's going to kind of evolve on its own.
Yeah, there's a little bit of that in the self-publishing indie sphere for authors too.
And how is that? And I am listening. I'm just gonna let the cat out, but I am listening because I want to know. I want to know about that.
It's kind of a mess because it's so new. I mean, Amazon really opened the doorway. Draft to Digital was kind of working on it before Amazon jumped really hard into the publishing sphere, but it really seemed to take off as soon as Amazon got involved because they're such a huge company that everybody knows, and it's kind of like if you had access to, for example, if anybody had access to just upload a film that they made onto Tubi, it would just be full of everything because everybody'd want to jump in and do it. So, yeah, and we're all trying to figure out how to market, and none of us have audiences. So we're just sort of jumping on social media, screaming, "Hey, I got something cool over here! It's over here! Look!"
Hey, does anybody know what the very first graphic novels that Amazon published themselves were?
No
idea.
No, Mike, do you know?
Mike knows.
Huh.
Wow.
Oh, those are signed by George.
Mike, who worked on those? Who?
I don't know. His name's on here somewhere.
There we go.
I think it says, what does that say? Mark? It says Mark.
Mark something.
He's gonna
hi, Mark.
Hi, Mark. Hey, guys, so we got some questions down in the chat, and I do want to make sure that we get to everybody. I did tell everybody, because it seems to have been a rather expensive week for a lot of people. They've been going to this random Indiegogo site and just spending oodles and oodles of cash. So I just told people, guys,
beautiful man.
Beautiful, man. If you have questions, just type in question or send in a super chat. I'm gonna give people that option. So
we just tipped over $487,000.
Wait, how does Gary 487,000? Is that Gary? Is that Gary in a
something like that?
Dude, I'm just so glad I got the chat last night to do Gary Button twice. That was great.
Gary Button in the chat, everyone. Gary Button.
Gary Button. I need to get my own audio.
We are now at our third best day, and we are like 3,000 bucks away from being our second best day, which is
that's insane.
Pretty insane.
Wonderful news.
Swift Sword Rush. This question: what's your favorite low budget film? Let's give it to Mike. Mike, what's your favorite low budget film?
I'd have to go back the old days and say Suburbia. Not that Suburbia.
There's know
Suburbia from the 80s about
starring Flea
kids. Starring who?
Flea.
That's right.
Wait,
That's
Flea as in
yeah, I love that movie when I was younger.
From the Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Okay, that Flea. I was like, I know one Flea in my life. I'm a music guy.
I think,
probably one of the best bass players
Heathers
ever.
wasn't a very high budget film, was it?
Heathers?
Yeah.
It's got a decent budget.
Decent budget. I love that movie.
Christopher Moonlight, what is your favorite low budget film?
I've got can I give like a quick list and why?
Sure.
Go for it.
You can have my answer.
Yeah, I abdicate my time there.
I have one.
I have another runner-up.
It's probably not as low budget as a lot of what you guys are going to say, but there is one that was very low budget and it was a short film and I loved it. And I don't care. It's my show. So go on, Chris.
No, I want to hear what your and Iron Age Media before I say mine. I want to hear.
Okay.
I'll go last. Actually, let me go last.
Okay. All right.
Can I throw another one?
Go ahead, Royce. You're up.
Okay. It's and in comparison to, I mean, this they put a decent amount of money into it, but it was a fan project that I fell in love with. It was only done a few years ago, 14 minutes long short film, and it was the Uncharted fan film that they released. If you guys have ever played the Uncharted video games, you guys would be ecstatic to see the short film. And they actually put I mean, they did a really good job at it. It was a director and guy who starred in Firefly. Can't remember his name right now. It's bothering me.
Nathan Fillion?
Nathan Fillion. So Nathan Fillion, for years, the Uncharted fans have been saying, you are Nathan Drake from those video games. Well, the director loved the games. He called up Nathan Fillion. He said, hey, I want you to do this. They did a short film. Obviously, the budget, I believe they actually spent like a couple million of their own dollars to pull this off or something like that. It's not necessarily low budget. And like I said, I don't care. It's my damn show. But I loved that.
You asked the question and then you broke the rule.
I didn't ask the question. Swift Sword Rush asked the question.
That's why he's crazy, though. You know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Iron Age Media, what's yours?
Well, I've mentioned it before, but Lost Skeleton of Cadavra. That's relatively low budget. It was a parody of kind of classic horror films and some of the absurdist stuff. It was a good comedy. So I as far as like low budget films that I've actually watched many times and showed to people, that definitely takes the cake. So
I've never heard of it.
Yeah, it from like 2001. So it was let's see here. I'm trying to see if there's like a small production company that did it, I believe.
What was the budget on Dead Alive?
Dead Alive? I don't know.
There's a lot of gore budget in that. But if you've seen Brain Dead? Not Brain Dead. Peter Jackson's first film. What is it called? Maybe it is.
That's Dead Alive.
No, it wasn't Dead Alive. There was one
really?
Before that.
You did one before that?
Yeah. I think it's called Brain Dead, I think is what it's called. It's an alien invasion that he shot with his friends.
Oh, I know the one you're talking about. Can't remember the name.
I think it's called Brain Dead.
All right. Now I got to look up the Peter.
Yeah, somebody look it up.
Brain Dead is
I also really like Brick.
90.
That was pretty low budget, and it was just a genius script. It was
Brick.
Yeah. Ryan Johnson, his first film.
Yeah.
Really well done.
What's yours?
I honestly don't pay attention to that stuff, so I couldn't tell you what was low budget or high budget.
They're saying bad taste in the chat.
What?
They're saying bad taste in the
Bad
chat.
Taste. That's it. Yes, Bad Taste.
Bad Taste.
Bad Taste, where it's aliens come down to cook human beings, and it's actually pretty good. I mean, the recipe.
Fava beans.
It's amazing, and it's on Tubi. You can watch it. It's like it was put together by like his friends acted in it, and then it took him so long to make that first film. It's like one of his friends acted in it a little bit, and then he got married, and his wife hated the idea of him being in it, so she said, "You can't be in it." So they wrote him out, but then he got divorced. And so they wrote him back in. And so there's like a huge gap in time between one scene and the next. It took him that much time to make it. But it's a really fun film. Very, like, just a lot of humor in it. If you watch it and you think this was made back in the day before digital cameras, they shot it on film. But if you watch it now, you go, this is something YouTubers would do. But it started his career. So I'm gonna give a few quick films that I think are really great if you're into low budget stuff and maybe as someone who's aspiring as a director you want to be influenced on. First of all, go watch Dan O'Bannon's first film that he did with director John Carpenter, Dark Star, which is a proto alien, and it is done as a comedy. He did this movie and then he's like, I want to do it serious. And then he wrote Alien. So there's a great scene in it where that I actually ripped off, was inspired by for the Quantum Terror. And that is, there's a scene where they're in an elevator shaft. Someone's in an elevator shaft trying not to fall down it. He's like up against a wall. Well, all they did was the set for the elevator shaft was built horizontally. And they just flipped the camera. And they had him lying on the floor pretending like he's trying to hold on to dear life, but he's really just lying on the floor. So we use that technique in the Quantum Terror for when they're climbing down shafts.
I was wondering about that.
That's cool.
I love tricks like that. And also I will recommend, of course, Roger Corman's, a lot of his science fiction and barbarian movies like Battle Beyond the Stars, Galaxy of Terror, because that was all like James Cameron's first work using trick photography and rear projection and miniatures.
I love it.
And his barbarian movies like what is it? The Warrior and the Sorceress, starring David Carradine and a naked woman. I don't know what her name is, but she's naked throughout the whole thing.
No, I'm pretty sure you know her name.
And it is a pretty much it's just a retelling of Yojimbo by Kurosawa, and which was
one
also
of my favorites.
Yeah, and it was A Fistful of Dollars, and now this is a sword and sorcery version of that, which David Carradine said to Roger Corman, "Aren't you kind of worried you get sued?" And Roger Corman was just like, "No." He's like, "They didn't sue Fistful of Dollars," and when they asked Kurosawa about that, he said, "Oh no, I just ripped off Dashiell Hammett's Red Harvest." So it's
we're all ripping each other off.
And then one that I just reviewed for Halloween that is a lot of fun is the original Phantasm, which is
wasn't low budget though.
It was pretty low budget. I mean, they had some car stuff and that sort of thing, but they did a lot of low budget. You bringing
this stuff kind of reminds me. I used to love watching, and I probably wouldn't watch it now because I'm a Christian. But Beyond the Valley of the Dolls was great. I watched that so.
I remember that one.
I watched that one for God, terrible. I always block on names at the crucial moment. That Murdered by Manson, Sharon Tate.
Mm-hmm.
When you see Sharon Tate in that movie, you feel extra angry that Manson murdered her because she was gorgeous. And Fearless Vampire Killers, Roman Polanski, Sharon Tate movie. He definitely took advantage of her assets in that movie.
That's what he
did. But so those are my low budget recommendations. And I just love Angus Scrim. Every once in a while, I just, wake up in the morning, look kind of haggard, and I look in the mirror and I go, boy.
All right. So Kikomon gifted another 5 memberships to the channel.
Wow.
So Kikomon, thank you so much, man.
The soy must.
You need to get you need the Oprah gif.
I know. And you get a membership, and you get a membership, and yep. Asher Burnett says, question, which this is not a question at all. Lord of the Rings, the best movies ever. The best
Asher,
trilogy.
I need to talk about your ability to understand the English language. Not a question. No, Asher.
Oh, no, that's fine.
I will say that I make a tradition out of every fall, so I'm coming up on it now, watching the extended Lord of the Rings trilogy and all the extras. It takes me a few weeks to get through it all, but it's it's like comfort
every
food.
Year.
The miniatures.
I did mine.
Yeah. My wife and I, we do it around Christmas time because I have time off for work, so we do our Lord of the Rings thing around Christmas. The kids love it. It's great.
I have a Star Wars tradition for Christmas.
Oh, that's ugly now. Used to be great. Now it's ugly. Sorry.
Yeah, but I still do it every Christmas Eve.
Oh.
As soon as I wake up, I start with the prequels and just roll
before
straight
you put on your
through
makeup.
Yeah, that.
Yeah. I no, Christmas Eve, good sir. Christmas Eve is for Die Hard. What are you?
Oh, I know, but
It's
I
a Wonderful Life. Come
Christmas
on.
Day.
Oh, now you gotta go over the top.
Have a hot.
All right. Raving Dead Gaming question: what would you say is the best way to advertise your book, whether it is a graphic novel, or short story?
Before we answer that question, by the way, Catherine Francis is in the chat.
Yes,
and I have a tradition on Pop Culture Minefield. Whenever there's a lady in the chat, I have to lift weights. This is for the ladies in the chat. They love it on Pop Culture Minefield, so it's my tradition. So there we go. Got that out of my system. Go ahead.
You're good. No, that's the question. So what would you say is the best way to advertise your book, whether it is a graphic novel, or short story?
Have Shadiversity do it.
Yeah.
Also, if you have a YouTube channel, have Shadiversity market for your YouTube channel.
It really helps.
It really, really helped. You have no idea.
Yeah, that's kind of important. If you want to start smaller, you can always
Wow.
send me an email. So
yeah. No, get in touch with
Networking.
ironage.me. By the way, guys, links are in the description for everybody but Mike, because I don't think he's ever actually told me what website to put down there for him. Have you ever sent me a link to any
Mike's
of your
like,
stuff?
I don't care.
He's just like, dude, shut up. You're not big enough for me to care about your marketing.
I don't.
Sorry.
Best reaction
YouTube.
ever.
I'm just trying to keep my YouTube channel alive until I decide someday to take it seriously again.
That needs to be like a 5-second clip right there.
Oh, it will be. I almost had a little bitch moment there. Not gonna do the little bitch moment. I was gonna say I'm really grateful for Mike, but then I realized he would make fun of me if I did that. So
I just want to reiterate for Raving Dad Gaming, though. Again, I could be wrong, but I sincerely believe this. People don't buy what you do; they buy why you do it.
Mhm.
Talk about that. Talk about why it's important to you. Talk about why it matters, because these things do matter. Different stories matter. Different mediums matter. Stories are how we put reality into context.
So create a story not even create a story, but tell the story of why you made your story.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And you'll find that if you're sincere, it'll come through in that story and people will gravitate towards that. I mean, I don't attract a large audience at the moment, but through being sincere, I have continued to gain audience, and I believe that's why I'm here at the moment. You know, like you said, crazy. It's if I hadn't had been so passionate about my miniatures and practical effects, I don't think you would have cared about what I'm doing. But because
that was my selling point.
and that's been my hook for everything, because I do care about it, and I do find fun ways to push that medium that I constantly am getting comments from people saying like, wow, that's great. I love that you're doing that. Please keep doing that. And I think that, for any medium, anything that you're working in, find those things that really excite you and see the limits that you can push them to, and then show people. And if it resonates, then people will talk about it. They'll share it. They'll want to talk to you. That's my 2 cents on that.
Yeah, I agree. I consider myself to be on the deep end of the small pool as far as marketing is concerned. I've swum out to the point where I could no longer stand on the floor, and if I stop swimming, I die. So
Absolutely.
yeah, and definitely I agree with you there. One of the major things that people have gravitated towards with my stuff is the fact that I just constantly shout both the Iron Age thing and a term that a couple of others in some of my circles have called, which is superversive, the more positive, more joyful and hopeful storytelling, because that's my jam. Even when I write something that's technically gory and violent, like my Kurosawa inspired sci-fi samurai book Jisadai, it still is hopeful at its core, and
the world needs a lot of that right
that's
now.
what I want to bring to the world with everything that I write.
Isidro Lopez Irwin just became a member of the channel. Thank you so much, man.
Nice.
Welcome,
dude. He has been super active on the Gilded and stuff lately. I am just honored to have so many people just checking out and supporting the channel. This is a super chat. I'm gonna get to this one really quickly because this is a new guy here. I'm gonna scroll down and probably lose my spot, and I really hope that I can get back to my spot.
I think I see the one you're talking about.
Yes. This is JVP Music. Crazy. Found you on Shad's stream. Keep it up. 6-figure subs are in your future. Iron Age Media. I'm filling out the info for Ruthless tomorrow. You're a Chad. Support the Iron Age of Media. Absolutely. Good sir.
Yeah, go check out his channel too. He has a neat little trailer on there, and I think it's I was gonna say, Royce, you should check it out on one of your live streams this week or next week if you'd like to.
Yeah, no, I'm absolutely. I'm absolutely.
I don't know if there's much
remind
beyond. I don't know if there's much beyond the trailer out right now, but it looks interesting so far. So, yeah, I'm
I'm
waiting for that
intrigued.
article.
Oh, there you go.
The version of expectations is for betas.
Yeah.
Catherine Francis.
All right. And I think I skipped a question or two. Yep, let's go back up here to Maji Chan. What was the craziest Hail Mary y'all did in the industry that paid off for the most part? What's the craziest Hail Mary? And I know what Maji Chan meant here, so I think I have it on good authority to adjust a couple of the words here to get his point across. So, but yeah. What was the craziest Hail Mary you did to get that paid off the most in what you guys are all doing?
For anyone?
Probably for YouTube primarily, for Mike, and I say I don't know how many Hail Marys I've really sent off here.
Well, I would say your Hail Mary wasn't something that you did, but it was just, the fact that you put it out there and then Razor Fist.
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, it was more like I just put something out there and somebody else Hail Mary did. So
that was me. That was me. I was the guy. I was the guy. I did it. I did that
voice.
Yeah, actually, that's true, because I'm gonna say something that I don't know. Some people may say you tricked me, but I saw your thumbnail with Razor Fist on the front, and my brain I was just scrolling through my phone, getting ready for work, and or something, and I was just like, oh, new Razor Fist video, and I clicked it, and then I found you, and I was like, oh, that was clever though, because I was hooked by that, but then you had something good to say, and then Razor Fist took that and ran with it, and then and then here we are. So that's, I don't know if that counts as a Hail Mary, but that is a pretty awesome combination of circumstances, if you ask me.
That video is, I still can't explain that video, and it's too much to go into here now. I want to make sure I give time to the chat to get to all their questions. It's too much to go into here, but man, that video had the highest click rate that I have ever seen on any video of mine, by not even close. And 2, it was recommended by YouTube. That 70% of the people who saw the video were recommended by YouTube. So YouTube was recommending it, and the click-through rate was absolutely insane. I don't know what I did. It's
awesome.
Well, I'll say the Hail Mary for me, now that I've had a few moments to think about it, is essentially
well played.
I had it's twofold. One, Studio ADI that did Harbinger Down and did all those wonderful effects. They worked 2 doors down from where I was working, which was Lamps Plus in the catalog department. And someone was out there painting an oversized head for a puppet. And I decided to grab some of my friends who I was working with and go, come take a look at this. And then they spotted us and waved us over and invited us in for a tour. So my goal for that was get an email address, ask if I could keep communicating, which I got. And then when Harbinger Down came along again, that was out of left field. But I jumped in there and I said, let me be a part of this. I can help you. And they agreed to it. So I wouldn't so much call it a Hail Mary in terms of like a big victory then, but it was those 2 moments compounded have led to me doing so many things and having so many different opportunities. So I'd say the Hail Mary isn't so much like a big win at that moment, but it was seizing an opportunity that brought a credibility to what I was doing that I didn't have before. So I'd say, don't think so much about the Hail Marys, but just think about, when you see an opportunity, just jump in there, whether you're ready for it or not, because you never know when another one's going to come along.
Yeah.
There was this really big YouTuber that had my comic book on his shelf, and I just reached out to him and got to know him a little bit, and then I said, hey, you want to do a comic book? And now it's selling $488,203, and we're working on the 2nd volume.
Mike, would you like me to share it? I figured out how to hit the share button now.
I mean, you want me to know how to hit the share?
I don't know. I can plug your stuff. Like, I kind of feel indebted to you two guys
Do
at
it.
this point.
Free.
Do it now.
Royce, it's your show.
Share the fucking thing.
Oh, I thought you were gonna share it.
It's not there.
No, I thought you were just gonna share it from your. You know, you can.
No, I
Just
have
gonna wait.
17,000 things pulled. Wait. No, I don't have that one pulled up anymore. Whoa. All right. Kikomon.
Share it.
Yeah, share it. There you
Plug
go.
your Gilded. Okay, I'm supposed to plug my Gilded because I have other social medias that I am supposed to do. So, guys, if you guys want to go join a fantastic community, and I am utterly impressed every day. I walk into the smartest and simultaneously dumbest conversations I have ever seen in my life in my Gilded. It is like intellectual whiplash over there. And then all of a sudden somebody shares a doggo or a cat and everybody and now it's just about doggos and cats. And then people are sharing food pics, beer pics, people are talking about the things that they love. This is the cool part about my Gilded. People are reaching out and saying, "Hey, writers, if you would like somebody, get to know me a little bit, but if you'd like somebody to kind of proofread some of your stuff and give you some ideas to help you on the release of your book, I'll do it. Just shoot me something." And those connections are being built over in my Gilded. So that's something that I don't think anybody can pay for. Like, just that people are like, "Hey, I will help you out with your creative, spirit and what you're doing." They're like, "I can't write worth a damn, but I'm really good at grammar. I'm really good at spelling, and maybe I could help you out." And I've seen that happen about like 5 times in the last week, and it's just incredible, dude. The community that seems to have gathered over here is absolutely insane, and I am grateful for every single one of you.
And I mean, I think that's the real fantastic thing is, what's going on with the live stream too, is because the live streams cross-pollinate as well. We all have our strengths and weaknesses, and we all have aspects of our audience that, some will dig what someone else is doing, some won't. But by that cross-pollination, we're building that, I would say, what would you call it? That parallel economy.
Yes. Sir.
And that's
you just said one of my get me hot parts. Oh God.
Whoa.
There we go.
Mike, you can just he loves screwing with me. One of his favorite things to do is threaten that he's gonna bring on really big people that make me fucking fanboy.
Yeah, I forgot.
Just the little guys until you get big enough.
No,
it's this is something that absolutely is necessary. No man is an island, no woman is an island. It's to share stuff, say, "Hey, read my script, hey, catch my spelling." And boy, I have learning disabilities, I have terrible spelling. To have people that catches that stuff or just has little comments about, "Hey, you told me your intention with this work is this, but I'm thinking this, so maybe you want to work on that." It's vitally important. I mean, one of the things that Hollywood has that we don't, and I think is something to keep in mind, is focus groups.
We did that.
What's that?
I did that. I have a Discord group. But before I got involved with Crazy in the stream and got onto Gilded and in his Gilded group, I created a Discord group called Laureate and brought a bunch of indie writers together to work on each other's stuff, bounce ideas off of. We do a monthly book club where we read each other's work, give criticisms, and like help flesh it all out before it goes out, and then review it when it does finally publish.
Yeah, it's vitally important because there are things you will miss. There are things you didn't think of, plot holes. I mean, Hollywood, one of my favorite things about like old B-movie Hollywood is that they'd make now what would be considered, they make their movies backwards, where they'd start with posters. They just lay out a bunch of posters and ask people, what movie is the one you want to see, you know, and figure out what scored the best. And then they would find a writer, and then they would do screenings and all this sort of thing. And you know, they would tailor the movie. And that may seem like maybe you're not making art, you're, you know, catering to an audience, but art can come out of that. I think some wonderful things.
But I think it's less likely to.
I don't know, you know.
Well, okay, well, wait, hold on. No, I'll correct myself on that.
It really depends on the creator.
Yeah, you're wrong.
Well, no, I'm gonna go back to like writing songs, right? Sometimes when it came to me, you know, actually writing, maybe I had this really, really, really good, you know, just guitar rhythm. I was always a rhythm guy, so I won't say guitar riff, but you know, maybe I had this really good rhythm that I was working on, and I loved it, and I sat there and I would play it for a long time and figure out how to put the words to it. Then there was a time I had this really good idea in my head, and I'd call my lead, who's, you know, one of my best friends to this day, and I'd say, hey, here's where I'm at, here's the lines, here's what I'm thinking. I need, you know, you can figure it out faster than I can. Come up with, you know, do this. And so I guess there are different ways to approach different stories, but you've got to be versatile. You have to be willing to shift on your heels, you know, and figure out which way is the best way to tell this story, not just do it the same way every time, because I think you'll get, you know, diminishing returns if you keep doing that.
Yeah,
I think it's someone else telling you the dimensions of your sandbox.
Yeah.
And then you get to play however you want in that sandbox.
I mean, look, I mean, even was it Quentin Tarantino did Grindhouse with Robert Rodriguez, and it didn't land. And even Quentin Tarantino was like, yeah, that I overestimated that. And then he moved away from that because he still wanted to do things that resonated with his audience. You will get people who are, you know, absolute geniuses. They just are able to hit the right notes, you know. One of my favorite directors is David Lynch. You know, you may have noticed that through The Quantum Terror, but how he writes scripts is so far from what I think of when I think of storytelling. You know, I mean, David Lynch is just, I'm just listening to him talk about writing. He's like, you know, I get an idea, and then I get 20 ideas, and then I have a movie. I'm like, what? Like,
works for me.
Yeah. What does that even mean? But it works for him. I mean, he makes these amazing movies, and somehow whatever that is works for him, but it would never work for me. And when I made The Quantum Terror, I really, I mean, that was kind of my, like, get it all out of my system movie. Like the weirdness that I wanted to do, the miniatures, the puppets, the monsters. And it was a way of kind of sorting through, like, I like that term sandbox. It was like sifting through the sand and seeing what was in there and bringing it all out. And now I've, you know, now that I've messed with all the things in the sandbox, I have a clearer idea of what works and what doesn't. And so the next thing I do will be far more refined, where David Lynch, I think, like I said, he just likes what his meditation or whatever it is he does. And Stanley Kubrick, who knows what level he was operating on, but it obviously worked. But you know, it
had an L, an S, and a D in it.
Yeah. He, you know, and this is, you know, it's funny too. My opinion on Stephen King.
Keep him on for $2. Number one Iron Age YouTuber, Senpai. Stop with the Senpai. I can't stop them. I found out if you tell the internet to stop doing something, the internet will go full throttle into the thing that you tell them to stop doing.
Yeah, on Pop Culture Minefield, Gary, our host, there's a backdoor Gary gag that keeps
whatever irritates you, the chat will latch onto.
I don't know what a senpai is, but is it inappropriate for me to refer to you all as senpai?
It's like
I don't know.
It's teacher. It's teacher.
It just means teacher.
Notice me, senpai.
Yeah.
There's a
Richard,
whole
did you
meme
have
thing
something that
about
you
it.
were going to say earlier?
Well,
I heard you wanted to chime in there.
I was just going to say, I mean, I'm not, I don't consider myself a proper creative in the space necessarily, but I think that one of the results of the internet is that there's such a broad space for people to exist in that you kind of have to differentiate as a creator if you're doing like focus groups and test viewings and whatever you want to whatever method you do. Are you trying to find an audience, or are you trying to figure out if your message, or you know what I mean, if what you're trying to convey is getting conveyed? And I think that those are probably two different questions that sometimes get conflated with each other.
Yeah.
But I do think that one message I'd encourage people is that the world is so big now with everybody so connected that there's pretty much a market for everything. It may not be big, but if you are effective at what you're doing, there's probably a market at it, or a market for it. It's just a matter of becoming effective at doing that particular
Yes.
thing.
Takes time and practice.
And so, I would just say, make sure that you're splitting, that those are two separate thoughts in your mind is what I would say.
I'd actually go the opposite. They're two very similar things in my mind. I always say, well, Alan Moore once said, don't give the audience what they want, give them what they need. And my first thought was, well, what a pretentious thing to believe that you know what the audience needs.
Yeah.
My thing is,
well, but if you don't create the need for the audience, they won't know that they needed it in the first place.
Well, for
it's
me,
like, nobody knew that they needed a car for more efficient transportation until the automobile was invented.
Well,
I mean, sometimes that is a part of the market, is creating something that people didn't know that they needed until it was there.
Steve Jobs actually said the same thing.
Well, yeah. I'm gonna kind of buffer that.
No, not you, Christopher. Well, he was saying about creating things to create something that people will need that never existed before. It's like they see the iPad and they're like, I need that in my life.
Well, right? It's not so
now
much.
We all have these damn things.
Yeah, it's not so much the need. It's usefulness. I don't try and create things that I think people need, but in terms of my stories, but I hope that I create something that someone will see and watch, and some aspect of it will be useful for it. Because I think in creating stories, which is really what we're doing, is we're using language and we're using visuals to create something that becomes a frame of reference for people in their lives. And, if we just lecture them, then we're going to lose them, because lectures lose context over time. They're the context and the relevance fades away. But I was reading, I always read in the car line for my daughter's school. I was rereading my favorite author, Ray Bradbury, and his story, I Sing the Body Electric. And it was written, I think, in the 50s or 60s, about a robotic grandmother to nanny children who lost their mom. And everything in it is relevant to, philosophy of, in terms of loss, mortality, but also artificial intelligence. Everything that we know about artificial intelligence is in that story that was written before computers were even a thing. And it's because he boiled it down to what he felt would be useful to his audience, but he never pretended it was what they needed. The audience decides that, just like the consumer decides that. They decide if they need a cell phone or an iPad or whatever, until it becomes integrated into our lives so much that it's part of the infrastructure. But yeah, we don't get to decide that. We can only hope that if we hit the right note, and we do want to, as human beings, as souls, we want to communicate. We want to be understood and heard. And I think to get a small audience, a niche audience, is a great business model, like that 1,000 true fans thing. But I think ultimately we all desire to reach as many of our fellow human beings as we can, and say, I'm here and I have some thoughts about this crazy thing called life, and maybe you can relate to them.
Yeah, exactly.
IBE Entertainment. What film do you wish they did better marketing for?
Ooh.
What film do you wish they did better?
Dead Poet Society.
Ooh,
I never saw that
That's
movie.
really. That is a
You weren't around.
good-
Go watch the commercials. Dude, they promoted that as a comedy because Robin Williams.
What?
Yep. Yeah, it was promoted as a comedy.
That
because
is the
Robin Williams.
dumbest thing wow. So they were stupid back then.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They did the same thing
totally
with the
tone
King.
deaf.
They thought, because he was Mork, right?
I got
He was
one.
Mork from Mork and Mindy. He was a comedian.
I loved Mork
And
and
so
Mindy.
they were trying to, sell to his audience, and he goes and he does these super serious films, and he's
Treasure Planet, but Disney wanted to bury that movie.
Love Treasure Planet.
Yeah, that's a great film.
Disney wanted to bury it. Have you guys heard the story behind that? Oh, is
it like a John Carter of Mars story?
I don't
We
know.
don't talk about John Carter.
No, it was one of the, it's one of those famous Disney deals. They come out, you got a 3-film deal, and I think it was this guy's 3rd film. He poured tons of money, and you know what? And Disney did everything that they could, and I think that they also decided to put Treasure Planet up against in theaters the first Harry Potter movie.
Oh, okay.
That same weekend. And like
putting
they
the thing
Disney,
up against ET.
Yeah, they tried to bury that movie as much as they could, and it's probably the best thing that's ever been produced by Disney, in my personal opinion, outside of the Aristocats, because Thomas O'Malley.
Yes.
Love the
I'm probably gonna get a little bit of hate because of the CGI on this one, but it was a pretty big budget film. But Sky Captain and the World of Tomorrow.
Oh, I enjoyed that movie.
You wish their marketing would have been better?
Yes, I wish that the marketing would have been better, and because it did get good advertising, but just like with Dead Poet Society, they didn't know how to market a noir film in the modern day. And that's what it really was when you break it down. It was a noir pulp film. It was so good.
It's a tough sell, though. I mean, like Sin City as well.
Yeah,
it's so stylized. Marketing people are used to kind of, looking at something and just breaking it down, and then
assembly line whimsy.
Yeah, things like that are left fielders, for them, and it's very easy for them to drop the ball. I was actually going to that's a good example, because something that I really think the marketing, and I guess it did okay, but it's still one of my favorite movies, Corpse Bride.
Come on, they marketed the hell out of that thing. I remember that. I'm old enough to remember this one now. Okay. But Mike gives me crap for. Apparently, I'm not old enough. But
I remember though that all the trailers they had for that movie, they literally licensed out from Disney the "What's This" from Nightmare Before Christmas. Just like all they could do with that movie was go, essentially market it as if it was Nightmare Before Christmas 2.
Yeah, it's just like Nightmare Before Christmas.
You're not wrong.
And it's such a
they did that with Caroline too.
Coraline.
Sorry.
That's one of my daughter's favorite movies.
Yeah, Rich, you got one that Richard? Sorry, damn it, Richard. Do you have one that you wish that the marketing was better on?
No, I don't know. I was gonna say there's not really anything that springs to mind, and I know we got a lot of questions, so I'll
moving on.
Yeah, keep moving.
Reception.
All right. Talking Pulp Press, ladies and gentlemen. This is Rob Rhymes. You need to go over and check out Barbarians of the Storm. You can find the Barbarians of the Storm, Dan the Destructor, and his other novels on Amazon.com. I currently have them in my list, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to be buying 3 books this weekend. But anyway, my favorite movie made for about 13 cents was Roger Corman's Bucket of Blood with Dick Effin Miller.
There's a documentary about Dick Miller on Tubi right now, by the way, just as an aside. I believe it's on there, if I'm remembering correctly. And that's, again, what I love about Roger Corman movies is, I mean, he's literally like, hey, we've got a set for the weekend before they tear it down. Let's make a script and get some actors.
Right. Oh, God. Yeah, that's yeah. Stop jumping, chat. Chat I love when you chat. It's awesome when you chat, but when you chat, it fucks me up. All right. Gurgi 9876, who's also a Gilpin member. Question: what's the best way to go out printing physical copies of your books since I'm trying to do children's books? Yes, sir. Yes. And I feel those are harder to do in digital form. Absolutely.
I think that was the first F-bomb I've heard out of you in like 3 days.
I've been working on it, and I said the F word earlier, so pay attention.
Did you?
How many drinks are we in, Rice?
Swear jar.
This one would make 2.5.
F-bombs?
It's okay at this
No,
point.
2.5 drinks, good sir. Only at 2 F-bombs. I'm doing really good today. I took that advice that you gave me. I've been working on it all week, man.
Right on.
Answering the question, the best way, honestly, is to go the mom and pop route if there's something local to you, like a printing press. You can usually work out with a small printing company some sort of deal that is mutually beneficial for both of you, whether it be, a little bit of brand advertising or something in the back of the book for a discount on production. But if you don't have that option, really right now, Amazon's book publishing is the cheapest for author copies.
I'll add to that. Another plug. We did a Making of Harbinger Down book.
Nice.
Purely Amazon print on demand. This is actually my print copy. It's got that little thing on the side, but we did a full color book, and it's again, there's no inventory. If you're just trying to build that audience, why not? I mean, I think the quality is beautiful. I mean, this is behind the scenes stuff. We got all the artwork and photographs, and so you could, if you can't afford that that print run and you don't want to be stuck with a bunch of inventory, why not? It's I was very happy with this. And what we're maybe thinking of doing, by the way, just as an aside, if you're worried about just getting stuck forever in print on demand, which I don't actually see there being any shame in.
No.
We've gained enough popularity with this, but we're thinking of doing, an actual hardcover oversize, with a Blu-ray in it for the 10th anniversary. It's a discussion right now, but because we did this when there wasn't an audience, now there may be an audience for that bigger thing.
Yep.
Yeah, and also, by the way, as far as kids' books.
Oh, hold him closer. I want to see him. Yeah. Can we get him?
Yep. I'm working on it. I'm working on it. It's just, I'm a scrub. Okay. Just give me.
It looks so nice.
Yep.
Hey, Daniel P. Riley, where can you buy those fantastic pieces that you're holding up on screen right now? I'm not talking about the man. I'm talking about the book.
Yeah, you can't buy me. Anywhere books are sold.
Are you sure?
Honestly,
I'm pretty sure
I have a deal with Draft to Digital as well as print on demand and ebooks on Amazon. And I also sell stuff on my Whimsyland Gumroad, so you can find them anywhere if you really want to look for them. This is the other one. Both covers were done by artists I found on Twitter.
I love it.
There you go.
And by the way, Gumroad too. I sell digital downloads of not just my movie, but also visual effects assets. I'm building up a library of those on Gumroad. Gumroad is awesome.
Shut up, Convoy Bebop. I see you down there.
Yeah, Gumroad's amazing. I have a Plus Ultra ebook version of Legacy of Heroes, the superhero novel, that has an extra short story and some extra illustration by the artist who did the cover.
That's smart too. Give people a reason to do the extra download. It's like the old days of albums, they release a single and it's got another song that's not on the album on the other
hidden
side.
song. I love the hidden song. Well, because you were looking at that and be like, wait, why is this song 12 and a half minutes? And there's like a 4 minute, 5-minute song, and then you wait for like 60 seconds, and then the hidden song. Oh my god, I miss those days.
There was an album by a Canadian rapper named Cadence Weapon.
Canada
Breaking
has rappers.
Kayfabe.
That's disturbing.
At the end of the album, the very last song was like a minute and a half of him and a bunch of his buddies just freestyling. And then there's a 10-minute silence, then a hidden track.
I love it. That's great.
Scared the hell out of me the first time I listened to it. Because I got so used to the silence, and then all of a sudden there's this, and I'm like, what the hell is that?
That's great.
My friend Dave, who his band Frankenstein, who's the end song in the Quantum Terror, he wanted to release an album with at the end of the song, it had the frequency that's known as the brown note.
Oh shit!
He said he just wanted to have people say like, so how was that new Frankenstein album? Listen to it, man. You'll shit. Is that good, huh? No, you'll shit.
That's great. Ezekiel Lopez Irwin for $10. I plan on staying active in this community. Become the culture. Today, I picked up a book to read for fun again in a long time. It's the leather-bound Dickens I posted pics of in Gilded. Oh, I saw that. Yeah, everybody was sharing their book pictures in the Gilded today.
Wait. Is he saying that he's posting Dickens pics?
Yes. Oh, big Dickens pics too. Not like I mean,
with the leather
bound. Yeah. No. that is how my community do.
We're over 489 now. Just piping in.
Hey,
I'm muted because this guy keeps playing video games and just jabba. I'm like, all right,
that's fine.
It's a beautiful thing. I love seeing that crowdfund. My crowdfunder did nothing, so I'm really pleased to see other people doing well.
Can I cut in with a question for Chris? Actually, what's the future of that project?
That's a good question.
I was gonna say, you said you were continuing with it? Are you gonna work on it and do another crowdfunding round, or what's the thought?
I have a Subscribe Star setup, which I've just started, and it'll be a bit different than a crowdfunder. Because
have a link.
Yes, we've got the link tree, which if you click on that, you will have the Subscribe Star is on there, but it's going to be a little
in the link in the description. Go to his link tree down in the description under the support our guests
area.
Thank
you very much. I appreciate that. Yeah, it's going to be a bit different though, because the truth is that a movie, obviously there's a lot more work in it than a comic book. It's not like something that you can, work your full-time job and then come home and work on it for a bit each night. It involves, studio space, setups. The materials to build this stuff are, tons of hot glue, latex, foam, shaping plastics, hinges, tools.
Sounds like this bar I went to one time.
What's that?
There's a lot of time stress too.
Yes.
Yeah, and it's essentially if it's not done in a full-time capacity, it's not getting done. The big drawback with the Quantum Terror was because it was done on such a limited budget. It took me 6 years. I originally planned on a 2-year beginning to end production and release, and it took 6 years. Now, fortunately, that kind of
you know, that's not too far off from how long it's taking Ethan Van Sciver to do his latest comic. Oh,
Sir,
Fired from all the way over here.
The thing is that it was fortuitous with the Quantum Terror, because right around the time it was ready, Film Hub, which is
Film Hub, that's a name I haven't heard in a while.
Okay, so Film Hub, it's not Pornhub, it's Film Hub. It's
but
it's a new company. If you don't land a distributor, and these days, you know, landing a distributor isn't just a matter of getting a distributor to want to pick up your film, but finding a distributor that won't rip you off and you never see any money from your film. You can go to Film Hub and upload it, and as long as you meet their quality control standards, you can essentially be put on a sales platform. And that's how I got on Tubi and Amazon, and they've actually gotten me picked up by all in all 10 different video on demand platforms, 4 of which have released me, and then the other 6 are still pending for release. But you know, so with Subscribe Start's going to be a bit different than a crowdfunder, where with Subscribe Start, or with the crowdfunder, I was just going to fund the film and just work full time on it. This is going to be a bit slower going, but I'll be releasing things like storyboards, tutorials on how I, you know, built my green screen set, how I'm doing the puppets, that sort of thing. But it is going to be slower going. I do have an investor, but it's not enough. That was why we were originally going for that. But what I'm going to be doing here is Sci-Exploitation is like the umbrella that I will do this blend of practical effects and animations. Sometimes it'll be a blend of practical effects and actors as well.
I want to see
but there'll be different stories. Escape from Planet Omega 12 is the main one. But like I said, there's going to be like sci-fi shorts.
Go ahead. Sorry. What is the planned running length for Escape from Planet Omega 12? If you had to just spitball an idea, it doesn't have to be like exact, but like if you in your head, if you're like final product, I'm thinking somewhere around this time.
75 to 80 minute longs.
Ooh, yeah.
And it'll be like a pilot movie. That looks nice.
Really quickly. Hey, Mike, do you remember that sound effect you did the other night when you got all the people doing those 420 chats for me? Do you remember the sound effect that you did? Do it. He remembers the sound effect. Yeah. For 420. This is for you, Mark. I mean, Mike.
Well played, Frequency.
That's for you.
Sorry, I had to do it.
Whose artwork are we looking at? Are we looking at Mike's?
Yeah, this is breakdowns for page 2 of.
You're drawing it live. That's really cool.
Yes.
Yeah, and I'm on the wrong layer, of course.
That is one thing that obviously I'm not nearly remotely close to as artistic as Mike is, but dealing with anything that has to do with layering at all, Photoshop, or even just creating your own thumbnails for YouTube and stuff like that, you grab the wrong layer and you're just like, I
hate it. I hate that.
And you're doing complicated layers too. It's not like you're not doing easy layers. I mean, you could have you're almost working with a CAD drawing. If you guys are construction workers out there, you guys would know what CAD drawings are. And if you F something up in a layer that has various different parts to it, or you grab a layer and you don't know which one it is, like it looks like you.
Oh, I do that on our layer.
Yeah.
I start my drawings essentially as like I'm just gonna F this up as much as possible, and then once I have it to a point where I want, I start adding in. I love drawing on tablets now though, because it's like you're not drawing anymore, you're painting.
So what tablets do you guys all like to use? I won't touch an Apple product because, well,
same.
They're a fashion company. They're not a tech company. I'm sorry. They just
what?
Yeah, if you look at everything that Apple does, they're 5 years behind everybody else. Once Jobs died, they had nothing.
Yeah.
He was the creative force in that company, and once he died,
Well, really,
He's the king.
Wozniak was the creative force.
well,
Jobs was just the visionary. He had
Well,
the
Jobs
ideas.
is the
Wozniak did all the work.
well, one did the software, one did the design, right? One was like, hey, here's the software that we have that could really work, and the other was like, okay, how do we make this pretty and sell it to people?
well, Jobs is
And
the king of people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. I mean, if you look at all of Apple's, you know, I mean, I have
He
my own
made you think
reasons.
you needed it.
yeah,
That was his thing.
I'm cheap, so I have an XP pen, by the way.
This is an iPad, by the way.
Yeah.
I have you seen Clownfish TV do their drawing streams? He'll actually get these specified like artist tablets.
No.
And he'll just sit there and draw on those. It is incredible. I have a lot of respect for Clownfish TV and what they are doing over there.
They're
those
great.
guys are.
I feel it's very important to pay attention to markets in being an artist, and they're
Sup,
great
Christian
market
Colebrook
research.
for $4. Thank you so much, good sir.
Sup, bro, Chacho.
Bro Chacho. Wow. And with that, Chris Moonlight decides to age all of us. Oh, good sir.
Remember, I grew up in California.
Yeah, so I grew up in Colorado. We got everything about 5 years after you crazy bastards came up with it.
And with that, I will ask: Is he eating pineapple on pizza? Because I love pineapple on pizza.
Oh,
I do too.
Oh, I'm in good company. Hello, good sir. Wait, do you go as far as to like put like jalapenos with your pineapple on your pizza?
I don't mind jalapenos on it.
I don't like jalapenos.
Yep. No,
I don't actually like Hawaiian pizza because I think the idea that you put the word Canadian on bacon and it's just a piece of ham is just absolutely sacrilege.
You know what my son did, and now it's just like the pizza of the house: pepperoni and pineapple on pizza. And then like my wife and I will get a pepperoni jalapeno pineapple pizza. Oh,
my daughter is looking at the laptop right now going, how dare you?
If you want it to be true Hawaiian pizza, then it has to be Spam and pineapple.
Spam, yes.
And Hamburger Helper.
Never mind.
Never mind, you're redeemed.
Bye.
Spam is a staple of Hawaiian cuisine.
It is.
Spam is so good.
I was born in Hawaii, by the way.
That's my redneck showing. I don't really like Notice Me Senpai. I prefer screaming, "Witness me!" and come crashing into the room with all the finesse of a freight train in a China shop.
Oh,
thank you so much.
My second favorite film, by the way. Fury
that?
Road, my second favorite movie.
That reminds me of like the Venture Bros episode with the alien that was following Dr. Venture around. And anytime anybody looked at it, this really loud speaker voice went, "Ignore me!"
Well, that conversation probably just lost me one of my most supportive supporters. I was about to say goodnight. Pineapple, unsub. Wow.
And by the way, speaking of acknowledge me or witness me, yeah, a shout out to the Bloodline WWE and just add to that, acknowledge me.
Acknowledge me. Oh,
if you're not into wrestling, you won't get that.
Dude, I haven't been into wrestling since I was a kid. It's been a very...
Can I start calling you my honorary oos?
No, I don't. No, sir. I don't know what the fuck that means. And damn it, there's the third one.
1, 2, 3, square jar.
Oh, Tim Allen, question. What the heck is Royce drinking? Is it mead? And I show you what I was drinking, and that was my third thing that I was drinking tonight. Well, technically my fourth thing because it was coffee. Because I started with coffee and then moved over to the beers. But
wine.
I need. He actually sent me a mead website, and I've been telling my wife, I'm like, we need to get to the mead. We've got to get. I've got to buy like a bottle of mead. And so the first mead that I ever had was somebody's homebrewed mead, and one of our friends brought it out from Colorado to our new house in Iowa to check out the new house. Oh, Royce, you're gonna love this. It's really good. It's a honey mead, and I'm like, okay, it's not too sweet, right? Because I don't like sweet things. I lost my taste for sugary. Sugary things have this really, really like stale bitter cardboard aftertaste to me now. Don't know why. There's just sugar in general. I had a Halloween cookie that my kids had today, and I was like, that was a mistake. And I had to like rinse my mouth out with coffee. So they bring over this mead, right? And it's this homemade mead by my wife's friend came out, and her fiance at the time, he makes this homemade mead. This was the sweetest stuff I have ever had in alcoholic form. And I was
ever had
like,
limoncello?
No, I have not.
Meat's very strong.
That's like sucking on a lemon drop, basically.
Yeah.
I'll get the mead. I'm working on it, Tim Allen. I'll get the mead.
It's like 40 proof, isn't it? Mead's very strong.
Yeah.
Don't agree to anything over mead. Mead is considered a legally binding contract.
Oh, that's not good. Well, Tim Allen's been telling me to get mead, so I'm going to try to find a good mead that's not terribly sweet. To try, because I hate sweet things. I just can't stand. Sir, that looks. I really hope that we can actually see what he's eating, because it's not when you super zoom in on that. I was like, oh my god,
mildly suggestive media right there.
Mildly suggestive. That was damn suggestive.
What's wrong with you people?
He's trying to get us to subscribe to his OnlyFans.
Well, Bryce has had 3 drinks so far.
I'm wondering if that character in the back there is the one that y'all were ogling yesterday.
Did you see that? I think that is. Yeah, is that the character? Yeah,
it does appear to be her.
Yeah, it does appear to be her. Yeah. No, her eyes were very striking.
I was gonna say she's got very noticeable haircut.
Wax of land.
Yep. The armor is very, very, very good. Very good.
I'm actually very fascinated with that, how you structured that hand, because of course any artist, hands are always a challenge, but it's very interesting seeing how you broke down the positions of the fingers across the back of the hand. I never thought of doing anything like that. That's pretty cool.
It is really cool. It's fun to watch, actually.
I'm not sure what you're talking
about. Mike, I have a question about drawing hands. I'm convinced that one of the big problems with drawing hands is that people don't actually pay much attention to hands, and that they inherently look a little bit weird whenever you actually look at them very closely. Is that a fair statement?
That hands look weird?
Well, just like if you look at them doing, like, holding something in a particular way.
I've always been very observant of hands because I'm an artist, and because I've always wanted, make cool positions with your hands, and then you draw them, and so
yeah.
The main difficulty with hands, I think, is not the structure of them, but it's how much they change shape in terms of perspective.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's something that I noticed. Like I said, building where's that? Building this arm, essentially the palm of the hand is just a square shape. And if you look at the hand, it's not far off, actually. But what I have to think about is I'm actually going to be compositing separately the fingers on here, because they'll be their own puppet mechanisms, because to do them all as one mechanism is too complicated.
Yeah.
And suddenly I have major issues. I have to actually plan ahead how a hand is going to move, because I don't want to do anything too complicated. And a lot of it will be done between cuts rather than showing a hand doing something intricate. It'd be, hand reaching, another shot of a hand grabbing, that sort of thing. They change a lot with every move in perspective. And I think the only thing more complex than a hand is a human face. People take for granted how much the face changes with different shifts in perspective and just, different energies, expressions, that sort of thing. I think especially animators really have their work cut out for them.
That's why you get that whole uncanny valley thing.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And this is something that people
you don't know what you're missing, but something just is not right.
Yeah. It's
muscles make it too perfect.
It's a ton.
Oh yeah. It's again, I think going back to practical effects, I think this is why people like practical effects, because the same thing goes with CGI is, you may have a lot more control over it, but you're dealing with planes and pixels. And so CGI artists are constantly looking for ways to kind of dirty up what they're doing. And almost these days, like I said, with like the Mandalorian with Baby Yoda, they use a puppet, but they do a lot of CGI with him as well. And they're actually observing the way the puppet reacts with light and how the puppet moves and trying to simulate that rather than trying to make it look like a living thing. Because people gravitate more towards the actions of a puppet than when they get something that moves fluidly. Like, I don't know, something from the prequels, maybe, like Jar Jar. Jar Jar moves very fluidly.
Well, and I mean, human beings don't move fluidly, and so we base everything that we're watching and seeing and hearing off of the experiences that we have had with other humans, and we inject that into everything. I mean, look at how people have, essentially personified and humanized animals, especially over the generations. People inject and decide to cast onto animals personalities and traits and different things. I mean, we do it literally with everything because that is the best way that we can do it. And so because we don't move fluidly, we don't move perfectly, we don't talk the most eloquently, we cast all of that onto something else. And so when that thing does something, what would be visually or audibly perfect, it does send us for a loop because we're like, well, wait a minute, that's not how things work.
This is what's at the heart of AI, actually, because what you're talking about, I mean, there's a word for it. It's anthropomorphize. And going back to the story of I Sing the Body Electric, I wish I had the book in my car, or else I'd just read the passage. But, they're talking to the electric grandmother and they're going, you're a machine, but you seem so human to us, but there's nothing in there. You're not in there. And she says, no, but you are. And that's what to anthropomorphize is to project. We're projecting part of ourselves onto these things, onto our pets, onto our cars, onto objects that we are familiar with every day, stuffed animals, that sort of thing. We give them names.
Yep.
It's because we're projecting, and that's what AI is. AI is a reflection of us, and that's why, people kind of see AI as like, oh no, it's the machines taking over. It's the machines reflecting back on us what we are collectively. And I don't know about you, but
I would say it is a reflection collectively, but it's an imperfect one.
Well,
right? Because
of course,
the problem is that nothing at a certain level can necessarily create something that is equivalent to itself. There's always going to be some loss. There's always going to be some degradation there, and so that's where we start to get into the really, really weird stuff when it comes to AGI, which not just AI but artificial general intelligence as well as machine learning technology.
Well, there's another story by Ray Bradbury in the same book called Night Call Collect. And in that story,
I'm going to put a pause on this for prayers for my mom who is recovering from a stroke she suffered on last Sunday. Tim Allen, I will make sure to keep her in my prayers this evening.
Yes, I know a friend of mine that suffered from a mild stroke, and it's a rough one to recover from. I hope she does recover.
Yes.
But going back to Night Call Collect, it's about someone who's marooned on Mars. He was part of a Mars colony, and then everyone went back home and left him there. And so as he waited for a rescue ship to come, he started recording different things to leave for himself, so later on his voice would call him back like an AI, so he could have someone to talk to. But because he gets so desperate and despairs so much and drinks too much over the years doing this, the AI voice coming back to him is like torturing him and making him miserable. And anyway, what I was going to say though is when you look at, I don't know about you, but when I look at AI images, they're very similar to how I dream. That kind of, recognizable but yet nondescript way that we dream, and things meld into each other and transform in the process. And so I think what we're seeing is we're teaching AI to dream our dreams. And like with dreaming, I don't know about you, but I wake up from dreams and go, that was very interesting. I'm going to write that down or try and illustrate that and use it as an idea. I think that's how we're going to start to use AI, is we're prompting AI with the collective knowledge of our writings and our images and our experiences. And then that AI is going to prompt us back in the way that dreams prompt us. I don't know, can I spoil the little editorial that I wrote for Iron Age a little bit?
Yeah, go for it.
I'm sorry. What you said, an editorial for Iron Age Media? Is that what you said?
Iron Age Media?
The editorial that you
Welcome
wrote.
back to the conversation, Royce.
I mean that editorial right here? This one?
Not that one.
No. He
That's
wrote
one
a
for the
separate
fun,
editorial.
Tara.
That says Christopher Moonlight.
Yeah.
We have a new one coming soon. I know that it's in a queue. There are other people that have written stuff, so I don't know when it's going to come out. But I did an editorial on what I think a certain kind of new filmmaker is going to emerge. It's already emerging, but with consumer technology being so affordable, with open source technology in terms of programs like Blender and all sorts of other stuff, and with AI, I think we're going to see a filmmaker who is kind of almost more like the musician who records at home, where instead of funding a film project, you're going to have investors funding maybe a single person, and they're going to be working either in animation or in with actors but minimal casts, and doing kind of what I'm trying to do with sci-exploitation, Escape from Planet Omega 12, but even to the point where we're going to have actors who are going to work with directors remotely. I'm not talking about Zoom call movies, but either motion capture, or they're going to have
deepfake. The deepfake technology is out there right now, and it's being actively employed in many, many different areas of television, news anchors. I mean, is it I think it's Japan or potentially Korea. They have I believe there's an entire news program that is completely deepfaked.
Well, that's in China.
That's in China. I'm sorry. Yeah. Oh, the AI. Yeah, the AI. So you know the one I'm talking about.
Yeah, I've seen that one. Now,
I mean, you wouldn't be able to tell. It's pretty. At least in the short snippets that I've seen, it looks human, talks human, but it's not. It's just a computer generated image.
Yeah. Well, when you see what people are doing, of course, there's going to be limitations to it. And I don't think it's going to substitute. I'm not saying someone can substitute a Hollywood production, but the quality will be there that audiences will be willing to accept it. But it may be that actors have their own cameras. The consumer cameras are going to get good enough where the actors can literally set up a green screen behind them, be directed by a director, and that director can take that footage, cut them out from the green screen, and do like Robert Rodriguez style composite movies, or with animation or deep fake or AI or anything like that. I can't predict exactly how these movies are going to go or exactly how they're going to be made, but I see where it's going. And I do think at some point the technology is going to get there where you're going to see single people making full feature films from their homes, just using this stuff in general. And that's
hey,
like,
you mentioned a Zoom call movie before. Did you see the Ethan Hawke documentary on Paul Newman and his wife?
No, I didn't. Did he do that through Zoom?
He did it through Zoom during COVID. He had this movie like set up, and then COVID hit, and he got a bunch of his other like George Clooney voiced Paul Newman and all of this stuff. And it was this very, very interesting look into Paul Newman. And what's her name? Is it Julie Newmar? Was that his wife?
I don't know.
I don't remember. I think it was Julie Newmar. I could be wrong. Someone could correct me. But so what happened was Paul had actually done all of these interviews with other people in his life, and then like for some reason he didn't want them to get out there, so he burned all the tapes.
Oh,
but they were all transcribed, and so he got him and a bunch of his friends together to read the transcripts of these audio tapes, and then they put it together like a full documentary. And it's this really, really interesting film that it was a Zoom call movie. It was really
I love that, and I love the spirit.
Joanne Woodward.
Yeah, and documentaries are featuring Zoom calls in them a lot. But I mean, I even think, we are going to see, here's another example too. There are people doing animated films, doing special effects. I mean, a lot of the special effects jobs I take, I don't go to Los Angeles to do them. I get the footage, and, we work on Frame.io for notes, and we edit, and we go back and forth. And sometimes, it's like, I've got friends, Chris Young, who I'm doing the miniature, that Lovecraftian miniature that I showed earlier for his Lovecraftian Western, Burnstone Saint. I've never met him in real life. We met through our mutual friend Bill Oberst Jr. when we were working on a Ray Bradbury project.
Be right back, guys. Sorry.
It's, people are hiring people to do effects work on Fiverr. It's like, oh, I need this bit of animation. I don't know how to do that, but maybe I can find someone on Fiverr who can. And they do, and they get it done, and they get it shipped back to them. We don't necessarily need that anymore. And again, the quality of film, like I said, you're not going to see the next Mission Impossible made that way, obviously. And you're not even going to see all independent films made that way. But I do think that the one-man band filmmaker, which has always kind of been like an indie mumblecore gag before, is going to be something that becomes more plausible and more consumable by a normal audience. And we're already seeing it. And by the way, speaking of, just want to bring this up, and I probably should get going soon because it's getting pretty late, and I think my girls are still up. But this isn't the kind of film for me, but I've had communications with this director before. But Terrifier 2, I'm sure you've all been hearing about. Mm-hmm. Talk about your Iron Age spirit. The first Terrifier was also shot on a Canon 7D, which is not a 4K camera at all. It managed to make it to Netflix for a couple of months, and then he signed a deal. Terrifier 2 was shot for $250,000. Got distribution through Bloody Disgusting, which is a website that just happened to be in with, I think, a streamer called Screambox. They four-walled it for a weekend. It did so well, they got a second weekend. Now it's in its fourth weekend, and it's been picked up by 5,000 more theaters. It's grossed over $5 million. I mean, nice. That's a small-time filmmaker doing what we're talking about in that spirit of the Iron Age, and doing really well. And yeah, it's shock, it's gore, but I mean, Stephen King's talking about it, Howard Stern's talking about it. It's on morning shows, it's on news sites. I mean, God bless him. I'm, like I said, Terrifier 2 is not my kind of movie. I don't go in for that extreme, horrific, torturous gore, but there is an audience for it, and I think that's wonderful. And I'm really happy to see him doing so well. So I hope all of us find our equivalent of that, because I truly believe it's possible. Man, I'm getting all I'm gonna make myself verklempt. So, but anyway, I should get going soon. But before I do, thank you so much again for having me on, and
absolutely
really appreciate this. And B, I don't want to leave anybody in the chat hanging. If there were any questions out there or comments or
I usually don't like to do this, but I'm trying to learn from Mike. And so I will say this, guys, if you want to take up more of Christopher Moonlight's time, you got to send in a super chat. So if we see super chats come in for Christopher Moonlight, we will keep him here for as long as those keep coming in.
I didn't teach you that.
I was waiting for Mike to say something like that.
I will lift weights for super chats.
I'm sorry, Mike. I don't pay attention to the lessons that you try to teach me. So, I don't know.
You got his name right this time.
Mike said something about a super chat. I assume that's what he said. Maybe I was wrong.
I do want to, like I said, encourage people. And by the way, I want to talk to Gary at Pop Culture Minefield. I know that you guys are mainly just only available on the weekends, and you probably spend time with your family, but we do morning shows, and I was telling Gary about you, Crazy, and how we should try and get you on our show. We got throttled a bit. We were doing your numbers, and then he got a copyright strike, and they throttled him. So, but he just got picked up by like a digital radio station, and it's eluding me what it is. I don't know, but we would. I know I've been telling him we got to have you guys on as well.
Wow,
for our morning coffee. And
anytime.
I love coffee.
And by the way, Daniel, I love that chair. It makes me think of when I used to watch Vincent Price on Mystery. I just keep hearing him go in that chair going, "Good evening and welcome."
Good evening, everyone. Yeah, I set this whole thing up for these sorts of
I love it.
And Zoom calls and things like that, because I have a fireplace. It technically doesn't work because I haven't bothered cleaning the flue out or anything, but it's a nice aesthetic piece.
I like it. It's very it has a British feel to it. Even Vincent Price wasn't British, but people think he is for some reason, but no, he's not.
It's an odd thought.
It's the mustache. You could just put a TV in the fireplace with a fire on the TV.
Yeah, you could. I also have those
the wrong channel.
Candles. I could just put those in there.
Why are there fish in your fireplace?
They can really play the eccentric aesthetic out with that one.
Well, all right. I'm gonna be honest. I think we are nearing the end of the evening for all of us. So
we are hitting the 3-hour mark.
I was going to say, I do want to shout out one thing. If Mr. Moonlight is done shouting out his various links and everything else, is there anything else you want to holler aside from your link tree? Everybody go click that, check out his subscribe star.
Pop Culture Minefield, and of course, see my writings on ironage.media.
Thank you, sir. Well, I was going to say, speaking of writings on Iron Age Media, one of the things I wanted to mention, and this dovetails in with the earlier conversation about using AI to, generate some ideas and then see what bounces off of people. The first month's worth of prompts voting concluded, and we had a popular winner, which was actually Brian Asher from last week.
Yeah.
And I was going to say, and also 2 editorial picks. That's going to go to 1 editorial pick in the future with another vote choice through locals once I get that running. But in the meantime, we have 2 editorial picks. And the first one to get me a story was TJ Marquis, who's in the chat, or at least was earlier.
TJ.
With the tree, father and child. I put the link in there and I saw Royce drop it. So if you have a bit of time for I'm trying to think of a good way to describe it, but a heartfelt short story in a fantasy setting, then I highly recommend it. It's a good read. So,
and TJ's written some great stuff. He's
yes,
part of my laureate group and a good friend. I interviewed him once. Need to have him back again, but yeah, he's written some really fun lit RPG stuff and just phenomenal, fresh ideas.
Daniel P. Riley, you got anything you want to plug, buddy?
No, because I'm terrible at doing this.
I was going to say you can't buy him, but you can rent him an hour at a time if you want to, for the right price.
Oh, good sir.
That's true. That's true. Whimsyland.org. I'm working on some changes to the website, but yeah, I do literary coaching, editing and proofing, a little bit of ghostwriting for those that can afford to do ghostwriting because it's friggin' expensive. But mostly coaching. I'll get you through any of the pitfalls that you might have with working on your draft.
And to the man who loves to give this little channel as much crap as he can, because he can. Mike S. Miller, do you have... Yes, that would be you. That would be you. I have his way of making fun of me is telling me that I drink Bud Light like a scrub, which he is correct. And then bringing on people to my channel. Yeah, well, yeah. And then bringing on people to my channel that make my head implode because I don't know how to act around people I look up to. Anyway, Mike S. Miller, do you have anything you would like to plug?
I'd just like to point out that I did not send you the link to Shadiversity. That you did that on your own.
What link?
To Shadiversity. Yesterday.
Oh, to get on. No, I didn't do anything. He sent that to me.
That's what I just said.
No, you said I did that on my own. I did nothing. I literally opened
it. I mean, you clicked the link on your own.
Well,
I'll be right back.
Take responsibility for your actions, boy.
I refuse.
All right. Well, let's see. That's true. Fuzzy Creature points out that I did eat raw horse. I am Japanese. I went to Japan. It was served to me.
I'm going to be 100% honest with people. I have no issues with any animal that gets on the planet. People look at me. What are you?
I would not suggest the whale. I did go there with the full intention of eating whale because my mom talks about how, like, when she was a kid, that's what they ate.
Yeah,
that was the meat they had. It was whale. There was no freaking cows. There was no pigs. There was whale meat, right? So that's what they had in Japan in the 40s. Anyhow,
I've eaten a snake. Actually ate a cooked rat once. Weird story, but we'll not get into that this late.
I will judge you. I will.
Fine.
I won't judge you. I won't judge you at all. I think all animals need to be put on the table. All animals need to be put on the table.
Yeah, Peru, they eat guinea pig. Like here, they're pets, but they're just like they let them run around the house like little chickens. And then it's dinner time. They just reach down, grab one, skewer it.
Okay.
It on the spit.
It's
How many people
weird.
here were
but it
raised
is
on
what
a
it
farm and have ever actually slaughtered an animal on the panel?
I've killed animals, but I haven't slaughtered them for the purpose of eating, except besides fish.
Yeah, nope.
No,
Chickens, pig, cow. I've quartered up deer with my brothers before. Like turkeys. Yeah, I've yeah.
I worked in a slaughterhouse for about 8 months. That was all I could do.
So you've had even more experience with it than I have, even just within 8 months. So.
Yeah, it's called knocking, where you
Blacklist
take the animal
universe.
out.
Oh, you worked the sledgehammer, huh?
Blacklist universe.
Oh, geez.
That's my channel. And yeah, go support Shadow of the Conqueror if you have not yet. We are $354 away from 490K.
You guys are gonna hit. You guys are gonna
500.
You guys
are you gonna extend it? Do you think you're gonna get the extension?
Yeah, we'll get the extension. I don't see how that's gonna be a problem. But man, this has been our third. We are $2,000 away from this being less than $2,000, $1,800 away from this being our second biggest day, and that's pretty epic. So
you guys beyond pretty epic.
We're cooking with gas, and we were Jazza put a little commercial in his video today. Shad's brother, who has 6 million subs.
Don't judge me.
So
my wife is roasting me in the chat again.
Yes. It's time.
She's calling you to bed, Royce.
She's not even here right now. She's out
Oh.
drinking with her friends. That's why I keep getting up and leaving. I'm making sure that the small ones are alive.
This is, I mean, this isn't particularly for your wife. That's inappropriate. But if you're drinking with friends, that's for her friends.
There you go.
All right, be gone.
Be gone. Be gone. Is that it? Be gone, thought. Be gone. Okay, so we're gonna do this outro thing, and if you guys would just shh for like 30 seconds this time, our goodbyes won't be live. How about that?
Bye.
Good night.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks, guys.
Hello.
Good evening.
Laters. We're gonna do that, and then I have to go press another button to make it do that.
Hey, we're over 490. How dare you limit me?